Like, you said you were 42, but Caroline Orr brought in the official papers this morning, and I can officially say you're 46 on Monday.
Thanks very much, Lee.
I'm kind.
Really appreciate it. You are actually a gentleman.
I know how to work you.
Come here, I'll see you
Thursday.
when I see you.
Thursday.
All
I
right.
see. Do you know what? Like, if it was your birthday day, I would have brought you cake and birthday
You can
cakes.
still call up and see me.
cards.
You
No,
can
it's
call
all
and
right.
see me.
It's all right. I've other stuff to do.
Anyway, listen, it's not all about me.
No, it's not until Monday. This is good. You should thank me for this, because people say, "Oh, it's Greg's birthday Monday. We'll get him something away."
Yeah, because it hasn't been mentioned yet.
So they've got plenty of time. No excuses now.
No.
All family
would accept
members.
everything from, cans
Yes.
to a car.
Yeah.
Anything in between.
A boat.
Cans to a car.
Plane. Right, keep it going.
All right, thanks, Lee. Take care of yourself. It is the 9 till noon show, and our Friday panel is going to join us very shortly. But first, let's get a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A Donegal deputy is calling on the government to provide upfront grants for those who need to remediate their homes in the face of defective concrete blocks. Deputy Pierce Doherty has called for the Minister of Housing to change the scheme, saying that despite homeowners having been badly let down, they're trying to engage with the scheme as it is to rebuild their lives. The Sinn Féin finance spokesperson highlighted that those remediating their houses are having to borrow money at the start of the work and are being hit with significant interest costs. He says as the funding will be paid out anyway, it should be done before the work is started as opposed to after it's finished.
It's not to do with funding, because the reality is this funding will make their way to the homeowners, but just at a later stage when the first phase is complete. What this is about is making the payment up front so that they can get the contractor on the ground, and that the problems that are being encountered are being able to overcome with. As I said, it's just one small change that will be of benefit. It's not the overall solution.
A Strabane motorist has had their van seized after it was detected for not having insurance or an MOT. This occurred at around 7:40pm on Wednesday, a busy day for Derry and Strabane PSNI. In the Waterside area, the district support team officers conducted a search which led to a man being arrested on suspicion of being concerned with the supply of a Class A controlled drug. He's since been released on bail, pending further police inquiries. The Irish Red Cross is reissuing its appeal for people to pledge a room in their homes for Ukrainian refugees. It says state accommodation services are under significant pressure, and it's concerned many of those fleeing the ongoing war will end up homeless. Almost 11,000 refugees have already been accommodated through the scheme here, with over 4,700 properties. The Red Cross wants to hear from anyone with a spare room or vacant property which could be used to house a family. There's calls for all sides to reflect on the GRA's decision to not invite the Garda Commissioner to its conference. The Justice Minister won't be going to its annual conference in Mayo next week either because of the GRA's snub of Drew Harris. Labour believes cool heads should prevail and the Garda Representative Association should listen to other people's views. Its Justice spokesperson Aidan O'Riordan believes the GRA made the wrong decision.
It's better for the Minister, the Garda Commissioner and the GRA to be in the same room at the same time. I think all of those three entities need to reflect on why this is not happening. I think it was a mistake for the GRA not to invite the Garda Commissioner, even though I can completely understand the motivations behind that decision. I know they are exasperated. I know the morale is on the floor. However, I don't think not inviting the Garda Commissioner was a good move.
In weather, a dull start today with isolated drizzle, highest temperatures of 12 to 13 degrees. That's all for now. We'll be back again at 10 o'clock.
Menopause can be a challenging time of life. I'm Lorraine Keane and I choose Irish supplement Clean Marine Menamin because it's Ireland's #1 clinically proven peri and menopause supplement for daily nutritional support. Trusted by thousands of Irish women for over 10 years, Menamin contains omega-3 DHA to support brain health and vitamin B6, which contributes to the regulation of hormonal activity, and all in just 2 capsules a day. Ask for Menamin at health stores and pharmacies and learn more at cleanmarine.ie.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. It is 5 minutes past 9 and we have our Friday panel joining us very, very shortly. I'll introduce them to you coming up a little later on. We'll be looking forward to Donegal v Derry and also if that's entertainment. That's all between now and 12. I just want to give you a reminder of how you stay and keep in contact with us. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. Or you can give us a call on 07491 25,000. And also email comments@highlandradio.com. If you want to see our guests, and it's a mixture of in studio and remotely, then you can watch us on your smart screen TV or your Fire Stick on the YouTube app if you're at home, and across Facebook on Highland Hub, Highland News and Sport, and on the X platform at Highland Radio. In studio with me is Brendan Byrne, CEO of the Irish Fish Processors and Exporters. Thanks for joining us, Brendan.
Thank you. Good
and
morning.
I might actually ask you to stick those headphones on. Sorry, I should have done that before we came on air, because you'll want to be able to hear, I'm sure, Michael White, chair of the Green Party in Donegal. Good morning to you, Michael White.
Morning, Greg.
And we also have with us Katie Donaghy, journalist and author of Finding My Wild. Good morning to you.
Hi, Greg.
Kathy, I beg your pardon. Sorry, I don't know why I went with Katie, but Kathy is, of course, your lovely name. Thank you so much for joining us, Kathy. Right, okay, so we've quite a bit to talk about, but we have to start with the story that's dominating all of the papers today, and it's a complex one too. Over 4 decades after the biggest fire disaster in the history of the state, an inquest jury has found that all 48 of the young people who died at the Stardust nightclub were unlawfully killed. After deliberating for 11 days, the panel of 7 women and 5 men returned to the Pillar Room at the Rotunda Hospital on Thursday afternoon to deliver their majority findings and verdicts to coroner Dr. Myra Cullinan. Finally, the families got answers that had remained unanswered in many respects, despite initial coroner's inquests and a tribunal of inquiry chaired by Mr. Justice Ronan Keane in 81. There were 2 subsequent Oireachtas-appointed reviews in 2008 and 2017. And now the question comes to what happens next. Should there be a criminal investigation? Brendan Byrne, I'll start with you if that's okay. I mean, it's a long time coming, isn't it? Justice for the families of the victims of the Stardust.
It's shocking, and I was just looking at the papers before I came in here, and when you see all the photographs of the 48 victims, and they're ranging in ages of 16, 18, 24, 25, and to think it took 43 years for those families to get justice and to get a sense of, fairness from the state. I know that in 2009 the original tribunal finding was quashed, but that's still 15 years. And the state has some serious questions to answer here. Why, under God, did it take 43 years to have an inquest into what was one of the biggest tragedies in the history of the state, where 48 young people lost their lives? The verdict is there. It is unlawful killing. Of course it's unlawful killing. There was exits locked, and there was no due diligence or care taken whatsoever. But there's a complete systems failure on the part of the state here.
Eamon Butler, the former manager of the club, had argued previously that the unlawful killing verdict should not have been open to the jury at all. It was ruled that finding could be returned, but only if no person was identified or identifiable as being responsible. I mean, it's over to the families really whether or not that's acceptable or not. But I think the fact that unlawful killing was allowed to be ruled as a verdict is the right decision, or was the right decision.
Absolutely, and it's fair, and it reflects the reality. Inquests must reflect the reality in an unbiased, fair manner, and that's what we've had. But I think the issue here today is, why did it take 43 years to get to this juncture? Why did it take 15 years from the quashing of the Keane Tribunal to get to this juncture? There's systems failures everywhere. I like to think, as a modern state, which we now are, that we've progressed from that. But in cases like this, where it's such a time lag, such a time delay, it's shocking.
And Kathy, your reaction overall to this process, and also I wonder, are you like me? And my thoughts almost went straight away to those who fought this for much of their adult life, but unfortunately passed and never actually got to see this I was going to say resolution, but this, I suppose, next step on the path to resolution, perhaps.
Yeah, and I've met some of the Stardust campaigners over the years, Greg. I've met Antoinette Keegan, and as you say, some of those people, their parents were very elderly. They passed away before they could see justice done. What struck me in watching the TV coverage yesterday was the dignity of these people in the face of the state's sort of intractable kind of walls going up at every juncture. These people yesterday just remained so dignified, and I watched Jim Fitzpatrick, who was injured in the fire. You know, they didn't have any, they say they have anger, but it certainly wasn't coming across. Maybe that time will come. Maybe yesterday was the day for justice for their loved ones to be played out. But I don't think it's good enough now that we just say, oh yeah, justice, they have their justice, that's grand, let's move on. You know, the state owes these people an apology, number one. Whether there are, other elements of this still to play out in terms of a Garda investigation. But we do need a state apology now, because these people tried at every turn.
Kathy, just in relation to the Garda investigation, because I noted a little bit of a pause in when you said that, and was a bit nervous as to how to broach this myself. In that, when you listen to the evidence, doors being chained up, exits being blocked. And then obviously, there are still people around today that theoretically could be found responsible for that. Why are we, why is there are we a bit tentative in sort of saying, yes, there definitely should be a criminal investigation into this? And I'm sorry if I'm misreading, but it's just I was a bit reluctant to go down that road myself as well. Because, obviously there's legal implications and what have you, but surely should be a no-brainer that obviously now, after we found out what we found out, there should be a criminal investigation.
Yeah, I think the guards will have to look at this file very carefully now. It's important to say that an inquest never makes findings of blame or culpability. It really is there to establish, the who, the what, the why, what exactly happened. And that was really, really important. But, the litany of failures that you see from this inquest, you have things like, contributory factors. There was a fire, an electrical fault. Then there were tiles on walls that are obviously not fit for purpose. Then there are seats that are melting, sending up toxic fumes into the air. There's, the whole thing is like a fireball. As Jim Fitzpatrick said in prime time last night, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. But why did it go wrong? We know now why it went wrong. There were things that weren't done right. So I guess we have to sit. It's up to the guards to look at this file now and see what happens next. And I think when the pause comes and the families have time to think on what happens next, I think a state apology is necessary after what they've been put through, and after government sort of did not step up to this, and the dignity of these people was just shining from them yesterday.
I wonder, is it up to the Gardaí to decide if there's a criminal investigation here, or in the first instance would they liaise with the DPP before actually even launching an investigation? I'm not really sure of what the process might be in that regard.
I think that's it, Greg. I think the guards will take a look at the file, and then, they'll probably, if there is anything to be sent on to the DPP, that's where it will go and a decision will be made. Obviously this goes back to 1981, so there would have to be a decision made on whether it's in the public interest to hold an investigation. But, Stardust is one of these things that everyone knows about it. It's I think the public interest is huge. Yeah.
Michael White of the Greens, the chair of the Green Party in Donegal, I suppose your reaction to the verdict?
There's a couple of things. There's one, like an apology won't be sufficient. The families deserve more than that. And there's two big things for me. One is an investigation of what actually happened, the cause of the fire, and culpability being assigned for that. But there's a sequence of things that happened after that need to be opened, and I need to be careful what I say. But one of the big issues for the families is that a finding was made in 1981 that the fire was caused by arson, and for that reason, the Butterly family who owned the property weren't open for any civil cases, and likewise the families couldn't get any recompense. Now, we're being careful here because there's a series of events after that would certainly, as a non-lawyer, would put lots of questions into my mind. Dublin, 1981, 80s, the connections between people back then, it makes me raises questions in my mind about why certain findings were made legally, and then no progress could possibly be made. And I can say certain factual things. For example, the Butterley family, where Patrick Butterley was involved in TACA, who were funders of Fianna Fáil in the 60s and 70s. That's just a matter of record. There were other connections between, Terry Keane, Ronan Keane, etc. All of those, without making any accusations, would certainly raise in my mind questions about why progress was stalled so much in the 1980s and 1990s.
But is it not also fair to say, yeah, of course, and I'm not contradicting you, but just teasing it out. Is it not fair to say that, given sort of the makeup of the country, the size of the country, and what have you, that you probably could make similar connections to anyone at any time?
I'm not sure. And I'm not sure in a case where 48 people died, this would have happened in other countries. I mean, this is more like a Bloody Sunday thing where the government was actively trying to prevent the truth coming out. It's very annoying. I don't want to go too far.
No, I understand where you're coming from.
40 years, yeah. And there are connections between people, but the connections are, I think they raise, well, I'll put it as clearly as I can, they raise very serious questions in my mind about what happens and why progress is delayed. And I think Charlie Bird would be a very happy man, God rest him. He shared a lot of those concerns, and he's one of the reasons things finally progressed towards this inquest. But it's not over yet. There are two things. One, the families need to be compensated, and two, justice needs to be done in terms of somebody being held responsible for the deaths of 48 kids. And that hasn't happened yet, so that needs to happen.
I suppose too, we don't want to rumble on forever either. And I suppose, is there a point there, Brendan, where maybe we have to pick our fights? And that, of course, Michael has raised concerns. He's not the only person that has those, but that's almost quite separate from, a criminal investigation into finding someone responsible for this. That's almost a separate piece. Go ahead, Michael, of course.
Very briefly,
He's
Greg.
not interrupting. Any of you can come in at any point. Go ahead, Michael.
Sorry, I just wanted to raise this point before Brendan speaks, is that Brendan had talked about a system failure. The point I'm making is it may not have been a system failure. It may have been intentional without accusing anybody of anything, it may have been intentional by some actors to prevent progress. So I don't think it was just people not getting their act together and it was a system failure, like an act of God. It may have been an intentional bad thing, and that's why I'd like to see that investigated if possible.
Would you share those views, Brendan?
I think we owe it to the families, and this is the day for the families that have waited 43 years for an inquest. And let's be honest here, an inquest is the first step for any family that's subject to an incident such as this in their pathway to get justice. So I think we shouldn't deflect from that. And we are now 43 years later at step one, what should have been in the early to mid-80s, which is the findings of an inquest. So there's important steps that the government of today have to take in terms of this inquest. The report will be going to the government. They must determine, are they going to have a criminal investigation into this or not? They must also determine if they're going to issue a state apology, which I think is almost an automatic given at this stage. But I think we need to be very focused here that we had a systems failure, complete systems failure over multiple governments over 43 years. But thankfully, we're at a juncture now where there is an inquest, it's an official inquest, it's a finding, and what we do now will be a judgment on us as a society, what we do with this inquest. And I would be one for urging that this is fully investigated, because this is 48 lives that were lost. And it is an unlawful killing. And that's a finding. They determined the facts, an inquest, and that's the duty of an inquest. Now, for us as a state to sit on that and to do nothing further would be equally as shocking as what has happened over the last 43 years.
Kathy, obviously this is an inquest into the tragic loss of 48 lives, but when we talk about system failures and how we investigate things or how we get to the truth, I can think of at least 5 or 6 reports, and such is the way it's done, you kind of forget about them. But there's a planning report into planning in Donegal. Where's that? I know this is not about lost lives, but who is to say how it affects people and the importance of that? HSC investigations into the mistreatment of patients that we talk about it for a while, and then it just seems to disappear. You know, hundreds of medical records accessed down below me here when someone gained access to St. Connell's, and it was effectively, we can't talk about that. We're going to investigate that, end of story. Now, as I say, none of this is on the scale of what we've been talking up until now, but we do seem to have quite a strong reputation and quite a strong ability to bury stuff that we don't really want out in the public domain. That really worries me.
It worries me too, Greg. And I think, a lot of this would have sort of been buried as well had it not been for the families, stepping up year after year after year. And, some of them are now very elderly. And what it must have taken after, there was one woman, she lost 3 of her children, in this fire. And those people, went up and down the country to garner support, to raise funds, to knock on politicians' doors,
Europe.
to not give up.
Yeah.
And I think had they not been as diligent, and respectful of their loved ones' memories, and it was an act of love to continue to do this, to get justice for them, then this would probably go like the way of all other things, like a lot of things in this country, gathering, reports gathering dust on shelves. But it wasn't good enough. I think what was such a difficulty for the families was the fact that, the original Tribunal of Inquiry found that there was arson in this, that in some way these young people who were in this building were in some way complicit in the deaths of others, which was utter nonsense and has found to be such. But I think, sometimes people power is amazing. What we've seen, in their grief, they managed to carry this through. And yesterday we saw, the fulfillment of that. And I think, sometimes people power is the most amazing thing that we have.
But unfortunately, we have Michael come in. I was going to come to you anyway, but I'll put this to you.
Yeah, the parallels here that everybody should be concerned about. So you're talking about things brushed under the carpet or not resolved. I mean, Micah is screaming in her face there. Like, can anybody tell me why everybody's been able to walk away from that? And I'm saying this as I'm going to be knocking my house down in about 5 weeks, so I got skin in the game. But how is it nobody's been held responsible for that? We're all aware of the brilliant work the Micah Action Group and other groups have done, and yet 10 years into this, nobody's been really held responsible, and I'm not confident they will be. We've got a scheme that needs to be changed.
But further to that, if I can add into it, Michael, because it does feed into what I was going to say next, it's about, though, and we have, because of leaks in the past, learned that the state actively will make things more complicated to try and make things go away. There's some people feel the defective concrete block scheme does just that it's so onerous to qualify and to get through that people are being discouraged from doing so. If you take a case against the HSE, they will fight you for years, and then on the day the court case is about to be heard, they'll settle with you on the steps of the court. Like, this can't all be by accident. Surely it is by design?
I think there are differences. I think the HSE legally has always taken an attitude of us versus them, and it seems to be recommended by their legal teams. The Micah thing's a wee bit different. So I'd say there's a couple of tiers to the.
So
Micah
you mean
thing.
but you don't think the civil servants, right, made this particularly awkward to access and could have accepted very simple things like penalty-free downsizing, right? And the civil servants resisted that because they didn't want to seem to be beaten by 30,000 people on the streets of Dublin.
Yeah, so I just want to differentiate. The people we've been dealing with in Donegal County Council have been fantastic. They're really nice. So that's their civil servants too, but they're doing a great job. I agree with you entirely. The Department of Housing, the Department of Finance, a bunch of officials there have fought tooth and nail over it's what do you call it, dollars and cents, as the Americans say. It's over pennies, and they're causing loads of grief, and they are making it difficult. And it's going to. I've said this internally in the Green Party, it's going to end up in court, and in 10 years' time, it'll end up in the European Court of Justice, and the state will end up paying 6 times as much as they should do now. Like, there's no way they're going to get away with, say, commercial properties. If you look at the centre of Bontrana or Letterkenny, loads of commercial properties there are going to be on the verge of collapse over the next 5-6 years. That's not going to be allowed to, so there will be changes to the scheme, but it'll be dragging them over broken glass, screaming and kicking, and it's very frustrating. I don't know if that's a culture unique to Ireland. I don't know enough to know whether that would be different if it was in Florida or
well, it's very different in terms of defective concrete as There've been full wraparound services for people in America affected by this.
I guess my point is they're going to end up paying this money anyway, and probably much more because of their attitude. It's going to cost the state.
Yes, but look how much they'll be able to piss the public off in the interim.
Can I jump in there, Greg, on that point?
Of course, Catherine.
And the parallels may seem like they're, these two things are completely different. But if the state, for once, put people and human beings at the centre of this, rather than finances or rather than reputations, then perhaps what we would have seen was swifter action. Obviously, many of my neighbours are affected by Micah, and friends, and all around us. I see in my own locality houses being knocked down, and I just, house can be rebuilt, yes, but what about the impact, the psychological impact on a community, on families who are being uprooted and having to move and worry about where they're going to get the money for this, and are they going to have the money for kids to go to college, or the psychological trauma on families is not even being addressed. People are not at the centre of this thing. People keep talking about concrete blocks, but they're not looking at the centre, the people at this, and that really is something that is lost in this,
But I think that's partly, if you look, the guys in the Department of Finance, I'm sure, are some of the reasons that some of this hasn't gone through, but it's like they've done over the last 20 years. And part of the problem, referring to Greg's point, are we unique in how we do this? Part of the reason they get away with this is that they sail off into the sunset with massive pensions afterwards. If you look at what happened during the crash, loads of people were implicated in both the Department of Finance and the central bank. None of them paid a price. Like the guy that was the head of the central bank headed off with a huge pension.
Brendan
I
wants to
believe
come in
the
here.
Department of Finance were the reason that some of those changes were fought off last year after the Oireachtas committee.
Brendan Byrne, come in.
Michael, with respect, I think you're flapping around a lot of points there. The reality is we elect a government. The government are supposed to hold civil servants to account. I come from a political background, but I'm no longer politically active. And the reality is we started debating this on the basis of what Greg said. The state will drag out things, will make obstacles in your way on the premise that they have deeper pockets than the citizen of the state.
Do you believe that's the case?
Absolutely.
That's worrying.
Absolutely. And I would have instances in the sector that I represent now, the fishing sector, where the officials, when we would be in court, would say, look at folks, we have deeper pockets. This is a direct quote. We have deeper pockets than you, and we have the state behind you.
Wow. Okay.
So we need to get real here. And we're in an election year, and we're in an election cycle. That we need to elect stronger governments that hold those officials that Michael is talking about, whether they're in the Department of Finance or any other department. We elect governments to govern, and it's about time they started governing.
Okay, well, listen, we do have to take a break. We are in the company this morning of Cathy Donaghy, journalist and author of Finding My Wild, Brendan Byrne, CEO of the Irish Fish Processors and Exporters, and Michael White, chair of the Green Party. And by the way, if anyone wants to come back on what Brendan has said, we can do that after the break as well. By the way, Michael, I don't know if you feel you need to reboot, if that's the right word, anything there. But we're going to take a break. We'll be back in about 4 minutes.
Till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
The CFC Interior Stock Disposal Sale ends this Saturday, the 20th of April. Due to renovations, an incredible £1.5 million worth of stock must go. Don't miss our highest ever discounts on selected ranges across all departments. The Stock Disposal Sale at CFC Interiors Derry. Sale ends this Saturday, the 20th of April.
Silage costs to remain high this summer. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal how much it will cost you to make bale silage this year. Flooding at Roscommons, Lough Funchina, the worst in living memory. Dry stock farmers sleepwalking into nitrates penalties. Everything farmers need to know about the new fodder scheme. Minister kills compensation for dairy exit scheme. High Court blocks further work at Donegal Wind Farm. We analyse Lakeland, Aribo and Arabon annual results. And how to register for the upcoming Renewables Roadshow in Cavan.
All inside the Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
Join the team at Homeland Letterkenny for their Garden Super Saturday this Saturday 20th. Meet the expert Homeland Garden team and enjoy exclusive offers in store, including lawn edging 2 for €35, decorative stone 10% off, and there's True Timber hand tools 20% off. All this and much more. For details, see homeland.ie.
Recharge into summer with TUI. Secure your holiday today with savings for families and adults flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
Thinking about saying goodbye to diesel? Making the move to hybrid is easier than ever thanks to Toyota Approved Used. Choose from an extensive range of used Toyota hybrids, including the iconic Corolla and the bold and beautiful Toyota CHR. Tested and approved by Ireland's most trusted car brand. All our cars come with a 12-month comprehensive warranty with flexible payment options available. Talk to Kelly's Toyota about Toyota Approved Used. Toyota, built for a better world. T's and C's apply.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
Walk the line with the award-winning Johnny Cash and June Carter tribute show Cash Returns, live at the Strual Arts Centre Oma on Saturday 20th of April and at the Ballard Arts Theatre Ballybuffet on Saturday 4th of May. Limited tickets on sale now at both box offices. That's Cash Returns at the Strual Arts Centre Oma on Saturday 20th of April and at the Ballard Arts Theatre Ballybuffet on Saturday 4th of May.
Measles is highly infectious and can be serious. About 1 out of 5 people who get measles will be hospitalised. The best protection against the measles is vaccination. If you or your child missed the MMR vaccine, the HSE is now offering a free catch-up programme for children and eligible adults. And once fully vaccinated, you're protected for life. To find out how to get your vaccine and to book an appointment, visit hse.ie/measles. From the HSE.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the Made to Measure Fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365 on Facebook, Instagram and on mtnfireplaces.ie.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Easy Living Furniture's biggest ever roadshow sale is here. Come discover the amazing roadshow deals such as all sofas reduced, all dining reduced, all bedroom reduced, all mattresses reduced, and with interest-free finance available. This is one sale not to be missed. The spectacular roadshow sale with absolutely everything reduced is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Okay, Michael, were you accused of faffing there? I don't know. Given it's an election year, I think all the more important if you do want to sort of respond, it's up to you.
Yeah, it's not often I get accused of faffing around, Greg. So, I mean, in the interest of transparency, it'd be interesting to know what political party Brendan was involved with. It's just a question I have in my mind.
Well, I'll tell you, I know. Guess.
What?
Yes.
Right, thanks. So that's good. Just so everybody on the show knows that Brendan has been associated with Fianna Fáil. So that might, I think, colour some of his responses.
I think, sorry, I should have said that, but I think
that's inappropriate now.
I think it's
no longer politically active.
I know, but I think
I'm in the Green Party, Brendan. So.
I think it's widely known that I should have mentioned. It's widely known that Brendan Byrne was a member of Fianna Fáil. I'm not sure if he's still paid up. No.
Yeah. So anyway, the point I was making is that the officials are blocking progress on Micah, and the question is why are they blocking it? And the other question is how to prevent that from being blocked. Okay. I think Brendan saying strong government will sort that out. Well, what is his definition of strong government?
One that stands up to the civil service. And when we talk about that, and I think, and I hope, and I should be clear, when we talk about that on this show, invariably, and I should make it clear, we're talking effectively like the permanent government, the civil servants that sort of engage with the ministers, and not the very hard-working, also civil servants that are overstretched and under-resourced, often right across the system here. I thought that was clear, but anyway, I appreciate appreciate the clarification.
And actually, I should be clear too. I don't want to be party political on this. I think this is a problem for everybody in Donegal, and whether you're Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael or Greens or whatever. Like, I'm Greens, my house is getting knocked down. There's plenty of Fianna Fáil people in the same situation as Fine Gael and it's Sinn Féin. All of us here need to figure out. It's a genuine question in my mind. How, whatever the next government's composition is, how will we get that MICA scheme improved? I think the election of MICA councillors will have an impact one way or the other, depending on what vote they get.
I think
what other steps can be taken to get that scheme fixed? For example, where did the zero interest rate bank loan thing go? It was announced in October, mentioned in October, that's disappeared. People are having to fork out between 20 and 40 grand for foundations. That's obviously wrong and should get sorted out. There's a number of other things that need to be sorted out really quickly. How will that happen, regardless of who is elected? How are we going to make that happen?
I mean, we are in a situation where if the CEO of the council stating on this programme that if it were he would actually try and find a way to replace foundations, and then we have a scheme. He's the head of the council that's partly administering it. Then we have an actual scheme that doesn't, at this point, take that into account. And it's all happening right before our very eyes. It's not. It
goes back to the point.
There's not that many people through the scheme yet. Next year, the year after that, I think one of the members of the Mega Action Group called this like a slow-moving earthquake.
It goes back to the point that I was addressing before the commercial break. There is, we elect governments to govern. You know, the civil service, the permanent government are there, but they're to be held to account under the Constitution by the elected government of Ireland as elected by Dáil Éireann. So the point I'm making is that, you know, sometimes when we have debates, be it on MICA or earlier we had it on Stardust or anything, governments are not governing, and that's not a criticism solely of this government. It's a criticism by me of the last 4 or 5
Yeah,
governments.
I get that. And Kathy, you know, the Green Party
Sorry,
sort of...
one point.
Okay, just want to bring other people in as well. Yeah, go ahead. No, I was going to say, Kathy, I think the Greens sort of came in. I'm not sure they sort of promised it as part of the election, but, you know, to hold the government to account. I think Mary Harney quite famously thought that she was going to change the world, and then once elected to government, well, it's not really quite like we thought it was in advance. Paraphrasing, perhaps a little unfair to her, but the nuts and bolts of it are kind of accurate. It's maybe there isn't a strong enough government that can actually be formed that can take on the civil servants that we're talking of here, not the local hard-working ones, but the power brokers.
But also briefly, it's not just the civil servants. There are vested interests from industry and other sectors that are influencing matters as well. So
for sure, take them all on. Kathy?
I have seen people at the very earliest stages of being elected to the Dáil, and they are absolutely, you think they are going to go in and they're going to change things, and they're so enthusiastic, and you actually, for a moment, your faith is restored in politics when you meet them, and you meet them on election day, and it's their first run, their first rodeo, and then, you know, you just meet them as the years go on, as I have in Leinster House over the years, and they're jaded and they're tired, and that enthusiasm is gone. And I just think the system seems to rip it out of them. It just seems to shred that enthusiasm.
I think there's something about the bubble too. I think there's a bubble down there that, and I've been really quite disappointed with some people's comments in a recent time that the bubble's got them too.
I see that, and you can see that happening to people, and sometimes it feels like it's just a game that people are playing. You know, what I would love to see restored in politics is that, you know, it comes back, like all politics is local, you know, and some of the best political operators that I can see are actually on the ground doing things in their local communities. You know, I would love to see that replicated on the national stage, where there, you know, that you know, it is about the people. Because I don't get that feeling.
No, and it's got to a point. It's got to a point now whereby, you know, and it's going to come on to the next question now. But it's kind of got to a feeling now too that if you do try and call it out, you know, you're sidelined or you're seen as being anti this or something other, so that, you know, you're being stifled. And that used to actually only be on social media, but I'm seeing it now in the mainstream media a bit more, whereby, you know, you're called out by simply asking questions as being something or other. Just in relation to the bubble, who's our friend from South Donegal, Brendan? Mr. Gilday, is it Deputy Gilday, or that went in on the...
Yeah, Tom Gilday.
Tom Gilday. He never got sucked in by the bubble. No. He never spoke much in the Dáil. I think he spoke once on the deflector.
Very effectively on that night, I remember.
He got
it,
that
actually.
sorted, and then he got out. Yeah. And that was it. So he didn't... I don't think he succumbed to the five-a-sides and the quiz nights.
What we've just started this discussion on is much deeper. and I think you put your finger on it there when you challenge the system, both the public service and some of them, and maybe even the media isolate you. But that's what has failed us as a society, and it's what's failed us as a country. We have to hold to account those that are the decision makers and those that draft the decisions. And that's what the permanent...
Yeah, but if they don't engage with you, what do you do?
Well, this is where the political arm of the state must be the strongest of all. That's the elected government. It's the voice of the people. And I have seen it progressively happening now for the last 4 to 5 governments. They've got weaker and weaker, and we have the cold arm of the public servants at senior level, because there's some very fine public servants, don't get me wrong,
for sure.
But those that are in the permanent government, and there is a bubble within that itself, is where the failure lies. And if you do, students in 20 years' time will be doing studies of the government of the day, and what I'm saying now, they will be reflecting in their theses when they study this. But we need to get real as an electorate when we go to the polls and elect strong, determined government, because this country needs change.
That might be quite well, but unfortunately, increasingly, the electorate do not believe the candidates are actually there to deliver what you talk of, and we get low turnouts and we get dissatisfaction, and we'll probably see a rise of independence, which I find somewhat ironic. But anyway, Kathy, the Garda Representative Association says it's disappointed Minister for Justice Helen McEntee will not be attending its annual conference in Mayo next week. Ms McEntee said it would not be appropriate for her to be there after the GRA did not invite Garda Commissioner Drew Harris. Tensions, of course, have been high between the association and Mr Harris due to an ongoing dispute over rosters. Do you agree with the Minister's stance, or are we again seeing more politicians simply disengaging if they don't like the debate?
I've watched over the years the politicians going to the various party conferences, and to be honest, I don't know what they're doing there. Sometimes I wonder, what are they actually doing there? Are they going there for the standing ovation, or are they going there for the booze? It's kind of like a Punch and Judy show. What is the point, right? That's my first thing. I think it's a game, and I think, like, the minister going or not going, the work will get done. I know that there's that argument that, yes, she should meet the rank and file guardian, show the support. Drew Harris isn't going. She says she's, in support of him. I think the whole thing, ministers going to party conferences, is... I don't get it.
But if you're there really as the top person, and that is a meeting that does represent the 13, 14 odd thousand Gardaí, even if you don't really necessarily like, there's an awful phrase that I can't stand, but I'm going to use it now. She could at least go there in listening mode, whether it be cheers or boos, but at least the Gardaí on the ground would feel heard.
Optics. It's not actually listening.
Does it not matter to the Gardaí, though, Kathy?
Yeah, but it is, like, when you go to these things, Greg, it is optics. It's just to be seen to go in the door and be swept off and, have lunch and the photo op. It's if there's listening mode, then there are better ways to do it.
All right. Okay, Michael White?
Yeah, I actually think this is potentially becoming a serious issue, where you've got the Minister for Justice, the Garda Commissioner, and the Gardaí not singing from the same hymn sheet. I think it's kind of been brewing over the last 8 years. Like 20 years ago, it would have been unusual for a Garda representative to say that much about policy or stuff. They weren't so publicly or so vocal, but now it's becoming more and more common, and where they're not inviting the Commissioner to their own organisation. That's pretty bad. I think this is a serious issue, and it's kind of wraps up in a series of issues this year with doubts about Helen McEntee's effectiveness, kind of highlighted by the Dublin riots. Obviously, the rank and file of the Gardaí are very unhappy with Drew Harris as well. So I think that this is it's more serious than simply not turning up for a pint and a sandwich. It's not a good thing for the country, where the Minister for Justice and the Commissioner of the Gardaí and our police force are obviously not really unhappy with each other. A police
force that is losing numbers hand over fist as well, and also a force whereby as soon as Drew Harris wants to be seen to be getting tough on road safety, all of a sudden announces on the night that a primetime documentary is about to go out that every one of them is going to have to do half an hour of high visibility traffic policing per shift.
Well, there's two things. One is it makes them operationally less effective, because he announces one thing and then you hear people counter-briefing. The second thing is there's a danger of the politicisation of the police force, which is a big thing in the democracy we need to be careful of. So I think this is it seems like a silly thing this week, but it's actually it's a symptom of something that's.
But Michael, is it not Miss McEntee's job to grab both parties by the collar and say, right, this is for all the reasons that you've outlined, say, right, I'm the boss here. We're going to have to get our house in order one way or other. I'm backing this guy, but you're going to have to work with him. What can he do for you? What can the Gardaí do for him? You know what I mean? Rather than sort of taking a side and leave the situation as dire as you outline it, is her role not to mediate and to ensure that the police force is harmonious and is run well?
Well, I think it's a big... If you ask people in Donegal, we've had a recent spate of burglaries, which would be a cause for concern. In Dublin, like I went to college in Dublin in the late 80s, early 90s. It was lovely, it was safe, you could walk around. Dublin's not like that anymore. So there's a general sense that things are a bit out of control here. People want to see a more effective policing. And so this is a hot topic going into an election year. It needs to be straightened out. So I'd say, Simon Harris kind of positioned himself as, law and order will be a top priority. They need to get on top of this pretty soon.
But before I bring Brendan in, back to you, Kathy, just in terms of what you see as Minister McEntee's role in trying to sort of, get everyone on the same page as much as is possible. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean to throw Drew Harris under the bus, but she's quite clearly saying, right, I'm standing with Drew here. I think that's what my reading is. I'm only looking from the outside in, of course.
She is, but I've never seen, and I certainly can't remember a situation, I could be wrong here, that a Garda commissioner would not be invited to, the Garda conference. I mean, surely that there is a way, for Garda management to come together. Yeah. Do you
think the big mistake was,
bring all parties? Because I think this is in danger of escalating, and I don't mean to be trite when I say, I sometimes get the feeling that when ministers go to conferences, it's all about the minister. There are bigger issues at play here, which actually... and maybe the minister does need to grasp the nettle and say, you know what, let's get this sorted out, because we can't go on with the Garda Commissioner and Garda management at loggerheads.
Did the GRA sort of paint themselves into a corner with that vote of no confidence in Drew Harris? That probably wasn't advisable, was it? It's kind of left them in this situation, really.
Where do you go? It's just, where do you go from here? Now, where, how can I suppose
you move forward
from get back on the same page? It definitely, I would say there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of mistrust, there's a lot of I just, how do those relationships get repaired?
Okay.
And I suppose that's what's most important, is that we have everyone in terms of justice and policing singing off the same hymn sheet for the good of all of us who live in communities.
Brendan?
Well, I think you put your finger on it, Greg, to be fair. Once they put a vote of no confidence in the Commissioner, they did paint themselves into the corner. It's easy putting down a vote of no confidence, but what exactly do you do thereafter? Now, I think by escalating it, by not inviting them to the conference was a mistake. I think then further escalating it by the Minister of the Day, not going to that, was a further mistake. So how many more mistakes do we do until we start to get normality back here to the GRA, to the functioning of the Garda Commissioner, who I have great confidence in? But it probably speaks to an issue that there is in this country, that we don't like bringing outsiders in to tell us how badly we are. We saw it earlier in Aer Lingus when we brought in Christoph Muller.
But just in relation to that, Brendan, and sorry to cut across you, it really was a two-fingered salute to senior Gardaí in this country, though, when the government of the day did not think that there was someone within that organisation that had climbed the ranks, that had put 20, 30, 40 years in, that they didn't see that there'd be someone capable of doing it, that they had to bring someone down from the north.
No, I think you need to reach out and beyond the pool that's there. We need new thought processes. We need new opinion.
New culture.
New culture, exactly. And I think you're talking about something we need to discuss, the culture that's developing in this country. But back to the point I was making about Christoph Muller, we had Aer Lingus all down through the years struggling. And we brought in one man, and after 3 years, it turned it around to be one of the most successful companies we had. So bringing people from the outside in is a terrific idea. It does displace those that think they have a sense of entitlement to getting the top job, or it displaces the natural order of promotion. But look at here, I believe the best person should always get the job, whether that person's on the inside or the outside. And
well, why don't we get a Taoiseach from Denmark then or something?
Well, if we could elect one, I think we... well, I wouldn't go to Denmark, I would go to Germany. I like some of these German thinkers. But back to the question you asked me in terms of the GRA and the Commissioner of the Day and the Minister, it's farcical that we have this semantic going on at a time when drug culture has gone out of control, at a time when robberies are gone out of control. And someone mentioned Dublin earlier. I think it was Michael. I was in Dublin as a student. I'm now back on occasions when I'm lobbying in the Dáil. You can't walk through Dublin after 9 o'clock in certain parts. You could try it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Is that the same for every city, though?
Well, no, it's not. No, I'll be going to a fisheries conference in Barcelona. It may be there because of pickpocketing, but there isn't this degree of knife culture and drug culture. I think something has desperately gone wrong in this country, how we're managing the whole drug situation.
I'd agree with you there, Brendan. I lived in the North Inner City in Dublin for many years, and I walked to work in the Irish Independent on Middle Abbey Street, and I walked home. I used to walk home after my night shift. I would be maybe, I wouldn't do it now. I've been in that part of town, and
you wouldn't do it when. And obviously, Kathy, I wouldn't have been patronised, but you wouldn't do it because you see what's going on. It's not a perception. It's what you see. Yeah,
exactly. There feels like there's a sort of a dereliction of things of things have just stopped moving forward. There's parts of the North Inner City in Dublin. They just look like. It is,
And it's not true of other European cities. Like you can walk through Copenhagen, you can walk through Munich. It's not a worldwide or European wide thing. This is a problem Ireland and Dublin needs to sort out.
And it's a shame because this beautiful, rich history of the capital we have, and I was very proud to live there, and I just feel it's been let go to,
And it's not just policing, though, Kathy. There's going to be more to it than that, too, though, isn't there?
Well, you have to start somewhere.
Right.
And our civic authority for policing is on Garda Síochána. And here we are talking about who's not going or who's shunning going to a GRA conference at a time when law and order and our drugs culture is going out of hand.
So it's a smoke screen to some extent.
Well, it's not a smoke screen, but it's getting your priorities asways. That's what I'm saying.
We've got bigger fish to fry. That is for sure.
Yeah. And this goes back to the point, and I hate to labour the point, it's back to priorities of government of the day and what we are at in terms of electing government.
Michael, just your take on that, I suppose, as a member of a government party, and not you don't speak for them, of course. Well, maybe you do, I don't know. But what do you think of the commentary so far on Dublin and policing as a whole? Just in the last minute or two.
One of the points is why did they bring in Drew Harris? And if you remember, so bringing in somebody from outside, and I know Brendan's point about sometimes it's good to bring in external bodies, but I think the background to that, if you remember, is the Garda whistleblower scandals. There was there was leading up to Francis Fitzgerald having to leave as Justice Minister. So it's a bit of a hot ministerial role, and that was a background to Drew Harris being brought in, but. As we all just said, there's a load of law and order issues to be dealt with, both in the capital and across the rest of the country. Things like, the huge increase in traffic deaths are an example of where there's more resources required. Just driving from Greencastle to Letterkenny, I can see that there's less Gardaí on the roads than there used to be, and you can see that behaviour of people driving's got worse.
What's also changed is the policing in Donegal used to be raised regularly in the Dáil in terms of numbers. In fairness, I'm going to say the name. I think Pat the Cope Gallagher often raised this issue. We don't see that as much, and it would be lovely to see that too, because I know the senior Gardaí in this county do need that backup publicly. Unfortunately, that's where we have to leave it. But I'm going to ask one question of you, because a few people have texted in. Letterkenny is the biggest population centre in Donegal, of course. People saying I wouldn't walk around much of Letterkenny after 10 o'clock at night either. Would you, Michael?
I would actually. I think it's perception, but I think Letterkenny's fine. I mean, I've collected my kids there at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and it's been fine. So, my view is Letterkenny's pretty good.
Kathy, would you walk around Letterkenny after 10 o'clock at night?
On my own, I'm not sure. The town centre seems to be really, 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 really quiet. And I remember coming out of a show one night and feeling like. Yeah, would it be nice to have maybe that's to do with the town planning or something, that everything just seems to have moved elsewhere. But yeah, it just felt I'd be a wee bit uncomfortable, I think.
Yeah, Brendan?
Well,
I'd be as well asking you about Sligo, really. You're probably more
closer to Sligo or maybe Derry.
I'm going to the cottage bar too now.
I don't drink. First,
you don't have to drink to be in a bar, Brendan.
What do you call it? Look, I think Letterkenny, in fairness, even in the worst of times, had a good reputation. I think that hasn't changed. But we're speaking to a broader issue. You know, we focused on Letterkenny.
We don't have to dig in. We don't have the time to dig in deeper.
We've focused on Letterkenny, but there's fears everywhere in every town and village.
Yeah, of course. I'm on it back. I just be guided by the listeners as well. So it was they that mentioned Letterkenny, not I. I find it. I'd be feel safe enough. Michael, thanks as always. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. Kathy, lovely to have you on the show. Really appreciate it. Thanks very much indeed. And last, certainly not least, Brendan Byrne, thank you very much indeed. OK, we'll be back with a look at the weather after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
There's more furniture than ever on display in the extended showroom at McGinley's Furniture Letterkenny. More sofas and suites, more bedroom and dining room furniture, and much more occasional furniture. If you're adding to your home or making some changes, call into McGinley's Furniture, Portlink, Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny, or visit mcginleysfurniture.com.
It all begins with a thump as the needle nestles into a deep valley of vinyl. Sizzle and crackle turns into fizzle and scratch, and the mesmerizing rotations of pop and hiss and...
Ah, the crackle of a vinyl record. Just one of the ordinary sounds rediscovered by Sean. Whatever sounds you've lost, our hearing experts could help you find them again. Search Specsavers Hearing.
Craving a taste of bliss by the water? The Water's Edge in Rathmullen. Join us from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. daily and sample our delicious new breakfast menu. We also have a daily lunch special from 12 p.m. Or why not sample our dinner menu from 4 p.m. The Water's Edge Rathmullen, where tranquility and good food come together.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to roll out the red carpet and celebrate the best and brightest in the business world. It's time for the Highland Radio Customer Service Awards in association with Michael Hinney's Department Store.
From your local community centre, your favourite takeaway, to your go-to pet shop, we're recognising the businesses that go the extra mile for you.
This award is a great way to show your appreciation for the businesses that make a difference in your life.
But you better act fast. The deadline for entries is just around the corner. So visit our website and nominate now. Nominations close Tuesday the 23rd of April. The awards will take place on the 2nd of June.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Michael Hinney's. Support a local Donegal business with Michael Hinney's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop Michael Hinney's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Cloud will break up this afternoon. Sunshine developing as the day wears on. Temperatures 12 to 13 degrees tomorrow. Dry and mainly sunny. Temperatures 13 or 14 degrees. National Slowdown Day is ongoing. Someone clocked in Stranraer doing 132 in a 100 kilometre zone. OK, we'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after we take a break for the news and obituary notices.
The blockbuster production of Wicked returns to the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre Dublin, featuring Oscar and Grammy Award-winning music. Highland Radio are not missing out. Join us on Friday, the 9th of August, as we take part in the magic. Your place includes luxury transfers, overnight stay in the 4-star City North Hotel Dublin, and your ticket to the show. Call us today on 074 91 25000 or book your place through the outlet at highlandradio.com.
Enjoy summer with Home Store and More. Bring your garden to life with our great range of garden furniture, including rattan sets, barbecues, solar lights and much more. Like our Florence Corner set for €649. Dine in style with the Amelia 7-piece garden set for only €229. Light up your garden with our 10 LED bulb solar lights, only $9.99. Make your garden your sanctuary. Visit in-store or shop online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5, so if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie.
Immerse yourself in relaxation at the V-Spa located within the Villa Rose Hotel. Indulge in 90 minutes of treatment time with a full-body hot oil massage and a facial plus spa thermal session for €99. Contact the V-Spa Ballybuffet to book.
This year, we're celebrating 30 years of the Kia Sportage at Heron Auto. When it launched, it redefined its segment. The latest 30-year anniversary model features class-leading technology, dual 12-inch digital displays, leather seats, and distinctive black edition styling. Join over 30,000 Irish customers and test drive the Sportage at Heron Auto, Donegal Town. For more, see heronauto.ie.
Kia. Movement that inspires.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. A Donegal deputy is calling on the government to provide upfront grants for those who need to remediate their homes in the face of defected concrete. Deputy Pearse Doherty has called for the Minister of Housing to change the scheme, stating that despite homeowners having been badly let down, they're trying to engage with it to rebuild their lives. The Sinn Féin finance spokesperson highlighted that those remediating their house are having to borrow money at the start of the work and are being hit with significant interest costs. He says that the funding will be paid out anyway, so it should be done beforehand.
It's not to do with funding, because the reality is this funding will make their way to the homeowners, but just at a later stage when the first phase is complete. What this is about is making the payment up front so that they can get the contractor on the ground, and that the problems that are being encountered are being able to overcome with. As I said, it's just one small change that will be of benefit. It's not the overall solution.
A Midlands North West MEP welcomed the commitment from the Taoiseach regarding the establishment of a new veterinary college in conjunction with Atlantic Technological University. MEP Maria Walsh previously consulted closely with Simon Harris on the move of his prior role in the Minister for Higher Education. As it stands, there's one veterinary medicine course for students in Ireland and UCD, resulting in stiff competition for one of the 85 places. This results in 75% of those who have trained to be a veterinarian having studied abroad. MEP Walsh says it's baffling given the number of farmers in the country.
It's baffling when a country like ourselves are so are built on and very linked to our farm families. I was as perplexed that we didn't offer these courses sooner, but we need to right that wrong. And to your point, in 2022, 80 graduates from the University College Dublin registered with the Veterinary Council of Ireland. The remaining 222 of that year graduated from colleges abroad. And we so desperately need to make sure that we're training our vets.
Speeding motorists in Donegal will be targeted by Gardaí as part of the latest National Slow Down Day, which began at 7 o'clock this morning. The Garda operation will centre on high visibility speed enforcement across the country's road network. Already this year, 63 people have died in road traffic collisions. Last year saw 184 road deaths, a 19% increase on the year before. Spokesperson Joan Swift is worried that people may slow down today, but go back to their old habits tomorrow.
So they slow down today, but if tomorrow they're back to the foot on the pedal, that's not going to make any difference. So we need it in conjunction with enforcement, and hopefully that new Garda measure with each Garda, the uniform Garda having to do the 30 minutes of road traffic work may help.
A Strabane motorist has had their van seized after it was detected for not having insurance or an MOT. It occurred at around 7:40pm on Wednesday, a busy day for Derry and Strabane PSNI. In the Waterside area, the district support team officers conducted a search which led to a man being arrested on suspicion of being connected in the supply of Class A controlled drugs. He's since been released on bail pending further police inquiries. The price of petrol and diesel is expected to rise to €2 a litre in the coming months. Diesel is up 13 cent a litre to €1.78 and petrol is up 9 cent to €1.81 a litre, according to latest figures from AA Ireland. The government increased excise on fuel at the start of the month after rates were cut 2 years ago. Personal finance editor with the Irish Independent, Charlie Weston, says fuel costs soared in 2022 following the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Energy prices went through the roof, which meant refinery costs went up, and that was all passed on. Petrol and diesel went over €2, €2.20 at one stage. So as a temporary relief, the then Minister, Pascal Donoghue, brought in an excise duty cut of 21 cents on diesel, 16 on petrol, and then decided to gradually restore it.
Looking to weather, it was a dull start with isolated drizzle today. Highest temperatures expected to be around 12 to 13 degrees. That's all for now. We'll be back again at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices this Friday morning, April 19th. The death has occurred of Anthony McGinley, 5 Points, Kellybegs, reposing at McBrearty's funeral home in Kellybegs today from 3 to 7 p.m. Removal tomorrow morning at 10:30 to St Mary of the Visitation Church, Kellybegs, for 11 a.m. funeral mass. Burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Mass will be streamed live on MCN Media. The death has occurred of Linda Gallagher, Bomney Letterkenny, reposing at her late residence today from 12 noon until 9 p.m. Family and friends welcome. Removal from there tomorrow morning, going to the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest Mountain Top, Letterkenny, for 11 a.m. funeral service, followed by interment in Gortley Cemetery. Family time, please, before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if wished, to the Donegal branch of the ISPCA, care of Pascal Blake, funeral director. The death has taken place of Brendan Joseph McColgan, 25 Lochview, Buncrana. Funeral from his late residence at 10:15 this morning for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Chapel, Cockhill at 11 a.m. with burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only. Donations, if desired, to the Nazareth House Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member or Porter funeral director. The death has occurred of Michael Mickey McColgan, Mullinahy Cairn Moyle Muff, reposing at his home. Funeral from his home tomorrow afternoon at 1:15 to St Patrick's Church, Eskaheen, for Requiem Mass at 2 p.m, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. Michael's Requiem Mass can be viewed on MCN Media. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. tonight. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Sean Murphy, funeral director. The death has taken place of Godfrey O'Donnell, Main Street, Ardra. Funeral from Shovlin's Funeral Home, Sandfield, this morning to the cemetery at the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, for burial at 11 a.m. in the family plot. The death has taken place of AJ Doyle in Perth, Australia. AJ will be reposing at his father Jason's home in Drumminor, Buncrana. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow morning at 11:15, travelling to Christchurch, Buncrana for 12 p.m. service, with burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu, if desired, to the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust, care of any family member or Porter funeral directors. The death has took place on Monday the 8th of April in Hitchin, England, of Grace MacDonald Tam ní Gallagher, formerly of Cross Connell Clonmany and 29 Ardcolm Kill, Letterkenny. Funeral will take place on Wednesday the 8th of May at 11 a.m. in Our Lady's Catholic Church, Hitchin, followed by interment in St John's Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on the parish Facebook page. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The infection felt terrible. I just wasn't getting better. I was breathing fast and I felt confused. I had shivers and pain through my body. I was drinking water, but I wasn't peeing. I felt like I was going to die. In the hospital, they said I had sepsis. And it's urgent.
Sepsis can hide behind any infection at any age, so watch out for the signs. Visit hse.ie/sepsis for more information. And don't be afraid to ask the question, could it be sepsis? From the HSE.
And now,
IMRO's 2023 Best Local or Regional News Programme, The Voice of the Northwest, The 9 till Noon Show, with Greg Hughes.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show. Good morning if you're after joining us. If you missed the first hour, unfortunately you missed out on a great conversation, I thought, between journalist Cathy Donaghy, Brendan Byrne, who's the CEO of the Irish Fish Processors and Exporters Association, and Michael White, he's chair of the Green Party in Donegal. We discussed the fallout from the Stardust inquest that sort of led on then to a broader conversation, I think, really about how this country is run. And not necessarily by the government or an anti-government approach, really. It doesn't matter who's in government, about who actually is running the country. And then, of course, too, about Helen McEntee choosing not to attend the Garda Representative Association. If you missed it, well worth a listen back. It'll be available on our podcast, which goes live before 1 on our website, highlandradio.com. You can listen to all 3 hours. And, of course, you can watch it back if you wish on YouTube. But thank you so much to all of you texting in over the course of the morning so far. Also, by the way, Oisin Kelly's going to come in. He's our sports editor, of course. He's going to be doing live match commentary on Donegal versus Derry. Is this Jim McGuinness's first big test? I suppose you could have said the same of Armagh. But anyway, it's a big game and it matters. It's old rivalry. There's different men in charge and it's going to be packed. Tickets were like hen's teeth, weren't they? So it's going to be packed. It's going to be a great atmosphere. We hope it's a great game. How do you think it's going to go? Now, obviously, you can sort of go with your heart or your head, but how do you think Donegal v Derry is going to go? If you want to WhatsApp or text 086 60 25,000. If you want to shout from Derry, please do, of course, 00353 86 60 25,000. We've got thousands and thousands of really loyal listeners in Derry and Tyrone who listen to us over the air. We really, really do appreciate it. And we want you involved in the conversation as well. And perhaps I don't mention that enough. It's very important to us. So if you want to text or WhatsApp from the north of Ireland, strangely, you still have to do it with a international dialing code 00353 86 60 25,000. Do you know what I tend to do now? I put all the dialing code in all my numbers when I put them in, especially WhatsApp. Right, some comments. You wouldn't walk in Letterkenny these days either. It's just as bad as Dublin. I have a young family. I dread them going to teenage discos in Letterkenny in future. Letterkenny is a write-off. But is that a reality or perception, and your perception? Because we don't hear of a ton of crime out of Letterkenny, do we? That's a question. So that's why I wanted to sort of ask Cathy. She says she would no longer walk her work route late at night from Dublin. And she says it's not because she perceives it from what she's heard or the conversation that's out there. It's because of what she sees, of course. Why did Catherine Martin not provide the funding for the WRC in Ireland? If it was the GEA, there'd have been no issue in providing the funding. Well, we'll have to dig into the bottom of that because the country missed out big time there. Why is the GRA being accused of making the wrong decision not to invite the Commissioner to their AGM now? There was no criticism when the decision was originally made. It sounds like the government is mobilising the media to support the Minister's childish decision to snub the meeting. The Minister is the one who should be revisiting her decision. Well, the decision was relatively recently announced. Maybe you're conflating that with Drew Harris's decision not to attend, but we've only just learned of Minister McEntee's. I don't know what you mean by mobilising the media either, by the way. Certainly not here. I didn't know the views of Michael White. I didn't know the views of Cathy or Brendan, nor do I know the views of listeners. And they're all read out and they're all listened to. Greg, as far as I can see, Official Ireland turned its back on the Stardust families over the years. They were from a working class community, almost blamed for the fire. Arson was mentioned, more than mentioned. It was a finding of an investigation. Reminds me of the Birmingham 6 and Hillsborough disaster. Working class people with no money for lawyers or barristers. What are the panel's thoughts on the protest outside Minister O'Gorman's house this week? Is it a step too far or the only way to make them listen? Well, I only really became aware of that after I saw that text. I didn't really see much of it. I don't watch the news, you see, so I get my news elsewhere, and I just didn't come across this. What it appears to be is banners that have been erected outside Minister O'Gorman's house. He seems to live in a cul-de-sac, I'm not quite sure where. And for some reason, you couldn't get people to wear a mask back in the day, could you? People were literally protesting and wearing them. But there's lots of people with masks and their face covered outside Minister O'Gorman's house for whatever reason. And I also note a number of Garda cars sitting there, so they clearly don't think it's an issue. Is it a step too far bringing someone's house? It feels like that to me. I think there are other ways, but then again, people say, look, nothing else is working. That's not going to work either, though. I don't know. Too much money in politics and big pensions. Nobody wants to rock the boat. Maybe. The late Senator Paddy McGowan never took no for an answer. Getting elected never changed him. Another, both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have failed the people of Donegal in other areas that are left behind for years. Pierce Doherty was, in my opinion, perhaps the first to highlight the state of our county at Dole level. Well, he certainly has been very powerful in relation to that, but no, there have been other politicians in the past I remember that have, even before he was first, and I was actually there that night when he was first selected. Jerry Adams was there as well. It was kind of strange now. I'd never met Jerry Adams before. The Irish people always forget all the sickening crises caused by the continuity of incompetent governments, plus self-serving civil servants, and again, I think we're clear in which civil servants this caller's talking of. Legal services, and suddenly in more recent time, government monetised NGOs. Time to give others a chance to manage our country before the deepening ravine between the haves and the have-nots, the happy, well-off and the poor, and the vulnerable Irish people gets even worse. Photos were circulated on social media last year where a family went to the office of a public representative to talk to him about the home falling down, and they were told he was not there. Yet they witnessed him leaving out the back door. These people were elected to represent their citizens. Instead, they just represent government. Well, that is really an eye-opener, says another caller. Listening to that statement on the civil service, bigger pockets, etc., that is shocking and very sad. We all knew they had more power than some politicians. They definitely should be changed along with the government. Another is discriminatory, that refugees can go to university for free in Ireland and avail of free accommodation without means testing, while this is not available to Irish people. Another just final two before we take a break on the Stardust fire and the inquest. The caller says the Stardust fire was in a time where there were very few fire standards. All nightclubs were probably the same. So you want to jail and sue an old nightclub owner? This was a terrible, sad event with the authorities didn't have any safety standards at the time. Nothing will bring back these young innocent people. The present government are not to blame for the failures of past ones. I get where you're coming from in terms of, maybe furnishings that burn and, they cause fumes that incapacitate people. You wouldn't see that now. It would have been normal at the time. Wall coverings and what have you. I get you. I don't think you can timeline a point where it would have been okay to chain doors closed. I used to DJ in nightclubs back in the day, and I saw it once or twice and brought it to the attention of management, and the situation was changed. I really wasn't involved in journalism at that point, but it just did not seem right. And I says, why is that door chained up? What was happening is, as you see, in one particular nightclub, which is now defunct, is people would open the door and then their mates would come in and then they'd close the fire door. So it wasn't alarmed. It was a busy, noisy nightclub. And the door was chained up to prevent that happening, but that was a fire exit and one of the only exits that you could have got out of there. And as I say, it's not even really from this area this nightclub was in. So that was why. So it's really not. I don't think you can sort of say, well, it was 40 odd years ago, so it's okay to chain up fire doors or to block fire doors. But I do take your point in terms of fire safety standards in other areas. But I also have yet to figure out in my own mind what's the advantage in pursuing it now at this point, and I'll take my guidance from the families on that one, to be honest with you. Are the political connections of the owners of the Stardust nightclub why we haven't got anywhere until now? Well, along those lines, Michael White was making that point of the Greens and said that's something perhaps that needs further investigation. You are tuned to the 9 till noon show here on your number one local radio station, Highland Radio, and we're broadcasting across the Northwest on air on various frequencies, but also across the region and across the world online, and you can also watch the programme as well. So much to come on the show. We're going to be talking sport, we're going to be talking entertainment, and we're going to be covering other issues as well. That's all on the way.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday the 19th of April. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S20. It's game number 16. The numbers are 89, 66, 90, 38, 84, 7, 40, 2, 63, and finally 53. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Easy Living Furniture's biggest ever roadshow sale is here. Come discover the amazing roadshow deals, such as all sofas reduced, all dining reduced, all bedroom reduced, all mattresses reduced, and with interest-free finance available. This is one sale not to be missed. The spectacular roadshow sale with absolutely everything reduced is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
More than 5 people have responded to a survey by campaigners which assess the need for the return of a daycare services to Carndonagh Community Hospital more than 4 years after they were suspended. The group calling for the restoration of daycare services at Carndonagh Community Hospital says the survey shows there's a phenomenal need for the services which were stopped more than 4 years ago, as I mentioned. And now they're going to have the ears of the Minister of State, Mary Butler. She's responsible for mental health and older people, and the group have secured a meeting with her in Ballyshannon in 6 days' time. Tony Doherty is of the Restoration of Carndonagh Daycare Services campaign, and he's with us now. Tony, thanks for your time today.
Thanks very much, Greg, and thanks for bringing this very important issue for the people of North Inishowen to the attention of the greater public.
No problem. We've talked about it before, and we certainly will again going into the future. Right, so this, a great move, I think, by the campaign to sort of, pull the views of people. It really strengthens the argument. Talk to us about the history of the days of the centre. In other words, what services were there and how they were lost, etc.
So daycare services, they're where elderly can go to get, to get their medication checked, to get blood pressure. So low-level medical interventions. They would have got a hot meal. There would have been entertainment where you would have had, played a game of cards, maybe a bit of music, bingo, arts and crafts. But the biggest thing, Greg, was that you were meeting your friends and your neighbours, and that social interaction and that connection with your community in the last few years of your life. So that was lost, or rather that was closed down during COVID, and that was right and proper that was done so. But then if you cast your mind back in the sort of spring, summer of 2021, we started coming out of COVID, and Minister Mary Butler would have tweeted at that time in May 2021 to say that all daycare centres would start to be opened in the summer of 2021. And she also stated that any centres that required remedial interventions, remedial works, would be up and running by the end of 2021. So, that would have been communicated to the members in, locally here that, would have been my own father, for example. I would have been explaining to him that, Dad, listen, it's not opening in the summer of 2021, but it'll be available after Christmas. That never happened, Greg. We're 4 years on and we still don't have a daycare centre reopened in Carndon Community Hospital.
And some of the services that you provide, say, Tony, that were provided there, a hot meal, social outlet, company, community, even sort of blood pressure checks and what have you, kind of stuff that's very useful in prolonging people's well-being and lives as well. Do you know what I mean? It sounds more, sorry, it is more than it sounds. It's really, really important to the older generation.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly right, because what that service provided was, it was sort of first-level medical intervention, which took pressure off the GP service, which in turn takes pressure off the hospital service, and which in turn takes pressure off the nursing home service. So having that, sort of preventive maintenance almost in place was fantastic. And what I would say to you is, the local GP service wrote a letter to the HSE back last autumn, and they said, they have over 3,000 patients, of which 1,000 are aged over 60. And what they said was that, unfortunately, since the closure of the daycare service, they have watched many older patients become more helpless and isolated. And they said that they've witnessed firsthand how this has impacted not only the older patients, but also their carers who suffer as a result of the service. So they wrote a very eloquent letter, which we will be also handing over to Mary Butler next Friday, by way of educating her on how this has affected people locally.
Do you, what is your sense? Obviously, we know why it was closed, right? But then there's going to be a lot of reasons as to why it's not going to be open. And then we're going to be talking about investment. We're going to be talking about suitability. And we're going to be talking about this, that and the other. Are you satisfied that that's the right conversation to be had, that some of that stuff does need to be looked at? Or do you have a concern that this is putting hurdles up to the simple matter, or it should be a simple matter, of actually returning services here for the older people and their families?
So it's a complex situation that we find ourselves in. We have two asks. We'll be spending the first half of our meeting, Mary Butler, educating her on the situation. That we had, 56 people availed of that service back in 2019, and over half of those people are now dead, Greg. So we failed those people. The other half are sitting at home 16 hours a day. And what we'll be saying to Mary Butler is, are we going to repeat that over the next 4 years? Because we're all responsible for this. We've got to get this thing sorted. We'll also be telling her that survey that you outlined at the start of this segment, that one of the key things that came out of that survey was that 270 people, Greg, that's 270 people would avail of this service immediately if it was reinstated. And we're very happy to share the results and findings of that survey with the HSE, with the government. But 270 people would avail immediately of this service. That's what we're finding right now.
It represents a great need for these services,
It represents a great need for this service, these services. But on your question, the ask will be to Mary Butler is for the two things, Greg. One is for the immediate restoration of daycare services at Carndon Community Hospital. Now, we know that there's IPC considerations in relation to all of that, all right? And you and I have discussed this before, right?
Just remind us what IPC is, sorry, Tony.
Infection prevention control measures.
Okay. Right, okay.
Yeah, so they're to basically keep you safe in a clinical environment. But, the irony, of course, is that people are safe at home, getting up, and picking up infections at home without the support of the medical intervention. But what we're asking for is the immediate restoration at Carn Hospital. What we recognise that may be with smaller numbers, it may be staggered, it may be less time, but we can get people through that system. The two rooms that are there, Greg, right, they're sitting idle. They're actually used as storage rooms right now. I mean, isn't that just awful?
Yeah.
But so we'll be asking, number one, is for the immediate restoration. And we'll look at ways of doing that, as I said, stagger smaller groups, less time. So instead of having 20 people there, 25 people there for 6 hours, we could have 8 or 10 people there for 2 hours.
That's reasonable. That's reasonable. But as long as it's not like, We have that it turns into a big thing whereby, look, we'll try and identify somewhere else in the community, and we will, whilst we bring things up to a certain standard. We've heard it before, and then when we do that, it's like, well, staffing. The staffing shortages, and it's hard to recruit people, and the people that were working there have now taken up roles elsewhere, and that's another hurdle. I don't want to be pessimistic at all, Tony, but I presume those are the types of commitments you're going to have to blast through with the minister. You know what I mean? So we don't come back with a whole bunch of promises, but it's how it's all implemented, really, I think, is the key. She needs to tell you that.
Well, there's all of that. But the second, so there's all of that, Greg, to be ironed out. But remember, this is a service that was in place 50 years ago when we had no money, and the population in Carndon and the surrounding area has increased by 800 over the last small number of years. Like there's a need. We have money for these things, but I take your point that that we're going to have to thrash that out with her. Yeah. But the second ask that we will be asking for, and this is somewhat optimistic, I think, is that a working group has been set up by the HSE, and I suppose there's good news to say to your viewers. A working group has been set up comprising of staff members of HSE Estates, Older Person Services and Primary Care, and they held a meeting to look at potential accommodation to prioritise services within the grounds of Carndon Community Hospital. And the options that are or were being considered in that meeting were capital works within the existing hospital, capital works in a different site, presumably somewhere else in Carndon. The possible use of the James Connolly Memorial Hospital, which is part of that complex, and the fourth one is possible lease rental in Carndon town. So there is some wee bit of light at the end of the tunnel in relation to some meetings taking place. But what we're asking the minister is that we would be part of that group. We're asking for minutes for the meeting which already has taken place, and the action points and responsibilities and specific details on the next meeting, and that we'll work constructively with all stakeholders. Mm-hmm. But we want to be part of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And we work very constructively. And so it's somewhat, there's a wee bit of, good news maybe
sure.
in
we'll
that regard. But
I think too, fundamentally, all of what we want is, we don't want preferential treatment, but we want the same things available for our people, the same commitments that have been followed through elsewhere to be followed through for our older generation in and around Carndon. And we're not looking for something that no one else has. What we're looking for, especially too when it's demonstrable, that it makes people's lives better. They live, they live healthier, presumably. They certainly, have a better quality of life in the sunset years of their life. Stay with me. Councillor Albert Doherty obviously has been working on this as well. It's been raised at Regional Health Forum level. Regional Health Forum members will be there as well. Councillor, what do you want to hear from the Minister?
Good morning. What I really want is that there will be immediate progress with the options presently being considered, and Tony has mentioned the fourth in there. But critically, I believe the HSE had committed to convene in the near future further meetings to progress the above options and to have this conversation with relevant stakeholders. And it's my insistence that not alone is Tony and the group irrelevant. They are critical community representatives that are essential to be part of any resolution to the restoration. So I want to wish them well on Friday next, and to highlight and prioritise their relevance. They packed a community hall when they brought this to the attention of the locals about the need for a campaign for restoration. And in addition, I will be there at Ballyshannon, because in this local area, we are concerned about any reductions occurring to do with mental health, and we're concerned about the SRU unit in Carndon. We're concerned about the child and mental health services. We're concerned about respite and the lack of it. But critically important is the social calendar that can be addressed if we have the restoration, and that's something I say well done to the group, and they must be part of any critical future consultation.
Albert, I don't want to be cynical, actually. It's more optimistic. Often these meetings can be secured if a minister is coming with a little bit of good news. Am I being optimistic there, or do you believe that maybe Minister of State Mary Butler might have some positive indications to deliver?
Well, if she has, that would be a bonus, and I'm not aware of it. But what I am saying is I believe she's meeting because of the persistence of this group to have such a meeting, and of the consistent knocking on the door of the local minister and others to arrange it. And I believe through what she's hearing from HSE, there's an issue to be addressed, and it can only be addressed when all parties are around the table talking and listening to each other.
Councillor Albert Doherty, thank you very much indeed. I do appreciate your time. And Tony, again, listen, I mean, it's part of a journey, and maybe there can be some qualified optimism that a positive resolution can be found. But again, it's another example, a wonderful example of a really well organised local campaign with the right information, with an extensive survey to back up that information, and then to be able to secure a meeting with the minister. I hope that the quality and commitment of all of your efforts gets the reward it rightly deserves. For our older generation on whose shoulders we stand on, and we owe it to them to treat them with the care and respect we'd expect ourselves when we get older, if we're lucky enough to do so.
Craig, well said, and thank you again for your support. If I can just say, finally, that we are inviting all politicians and candidates in the local election to a meeting in Farns Pub in Carndonagh on Wednesday, the 1st of May at 8 p.m. To, I suppose, educate them and maybe push some of them to support this cause, which is at the beating heart of our community.
Well done, Tony. Thanks for your time. We'll be in touch. Hopefully, too, we can secure an interview with the minister and see if we can get some info from her on the record. But for now, thank you very much indeed, Tony.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Tony Doherty there of the Restoration of Carndonagh Services Daycare Services campaign. Right, thank you very much indeed for that.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Silage costs to remain high this summer. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal how much it will cost you to make bale silage this year. Flooding at Roscommons, Lough Funchina, the worst in living memory. Dry stock farmers sleepwalking into nitrates penalties. Everything farmers need to know about the new fodder scheme. Minister kills compensation for dairy exit scheme. High Court blocks further work at Donegal Wind Farm. We analyse Lakeland, Arrivo and Arabon annual results. And how to register for the upcoming Renewables Roadshow in Cavan.
All inside the Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
FBD doesn't stand for frighteningly rad dentists, ferociously beating drums, or feline business directors. FBD stands for support. We support business owners in Ireland with tailor-made services from personally assigned advisors. Visit your local branch to talk to your FBD insurance team. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Country Sundays at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny. This Sunday, 21st, there's Johnny Brady and his band dancing from 9 till 11. Admission €15 pay at the door. Coming attraction Sunday, 28th, there's Claudia Buckley. But this Sunday, don't miss Johnny Brady at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny.
Don't miss the BAFTA award-winning comedian Michael McIntyre's brand new show, Magnificent, at the SSE Arena Belfast on Friday the 31st of May 2024. As always, Highland Radio make it easy for you as we look after all your needs. We will provide luxury transfers, overnight stay at the Clayton Hotel Belfast on a B&B basis, your ticket to the show, shopping time in Belfast City Centre. For more information, go to the outlet at highlandradio.com or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Michael McIntyre in Belfast.
Now, if you like your sport, you're in for a treat this weekend. Whatever sport it is, big boxing on Saturday night, hurling, cricket, big news coming out of Finn Hop. All that's all over our website, covered, and it's on all of our shows. I invited Oisin Kelly, our sports editor. The reason I'm saying all this is because he'd want to speak about everything, but I want to speak about Donegal versus Derry.
Yes.
Jimmy winning matches.
Well, Jimmy could be winning matches tomorrow evening, yeah. It could be. Greg, we're going to have to wait and see. It's a great measure to see where Donegal are actually at under Jim McGuinness. When the draw was made, this is the game we've all been waiting on. Donegal have had their injury problems, as we know. There's 4 or 5 players there that didn't feature in the closing stages of the league. Was there enough time for them to get back to full fitness and play a part tomorrow? And if they do that, will they be up to match speed? We're just going to have to wait and see.
Let's talk about Derry for a second. Where do you rank Derry going into the championship?
Obviously, you have to rank them. You have to rank them as top 2.
Right. So
maybe I still think, this is my own belief, maybe Dublin, when it comes to the crunch, may have a wee bit of an edge on it. Championship, maybe just seen as favourites. That was a huge result for Derry. It showed the rest of the country going, we are serious contenders. They were close to making a final last year, where they were good against Kerry for the bulk of the game, but then fell away towards the end. Have they improved under Mickey Hart from last year? You would have to say, given their league form, yes, they have.
Okay.
So they'll have momentum. They'll have a bounce.
But Dublin can tend to build towards the championship.
Dublin,
right?
yeah.
So we might not have seen the best Dublin against Derry. Did we see the best Derry against Dublin?
Well, no in the championship.
God, that's a good question. You wouldn't get that in the DL debate or
no in the good championship. Of how good they are come the championship. Donegal's going to be a really, really good test for them. Listen, call a spade. Derry, the reality is they are further down the line in their conditioning and their development from where Donegal is. They've maybe got a 3 or a 4 year head start on it. So when you factor in that, and you factor in how Derry are going at the moment, the way they come through the league, and obviously they beat Dublin, they're seen as one of the top 3 sides now in the country. That's where it's coming out that Derry are favourites for this game, and rightly so. And you have to agree with that.
In watching Donegal, I think we've sort of seen different Donegals within halves, let alone within games. What I've seen as an armchair supporter, right, and I'll label that myself in case someone else does, I've sort of seen a Donegal that doesn't give up to the final whistle, right? I've seen a Donegal that can sort of adapt in-game.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff, with no disrespect to those that went before, that I as a spectator thought was missing, right? At this point, do you think Jim McGuinness has worked out what the best he can get from his players and what the best style for them is?
Yeah, well, it's what he has available to him, Greg. And it's back to the point I made earlier. Like, there's 4 big players. We have to see if they will feature tomorrow. Patrick McBurty, who's excelling under Jim McGuinness, played very well in Division 2 of the league. Ryan McHugh missed last year, back in, one of the key players for Donegal in that campaign. Brendan McCole, who is a really, really solid fullback, and when you play Derry, you're going to need somebody like him on Shane McGuigan. And the 4th player is Oban Gallagher, who obviously does a lot of running coming from deep. He would be seen as a key player. Now, if them 4 players are all available to Jim McGuinness, the dynamic of that whole team changes. If them players are not available for Jim McGuinness has to continue to work with what he has and try to get the best out of it. There's no doubt with whatever team he has tomorrow, he's going to get the best out of them. And we have to see what
the best is.
What the best is. We have to see what plan Jim McGuinness has. what sort of game is it going to be? Donegal might play this game tomorrow totally different than what they've done all year, because it is a totally different challenge to what they've met so far. Even in the league final against Armagh weren't that good. Donegal have played Division 2 football. This is up another level. So
Okay.
that's what makes this so intriguing, Greg.
When you talk about Derry maybe being 3 or 4 years ahead of us, right? I don't think that's, and you can correct me as I'm wrong once I've finished the question or whenever. Often in my head I would have thought that's about playing together tactically and what have you. But if you look at the Derry team, it's the strength of them.
It's the conditioning
right?
of the players.
And
there's lots of factors.
Tactically, with the best will in the world, if you've up against a bigger, stronger team, it's hard sometimes to offset that with tactics, especially when Derry are quite tactically astute themselves. And that's what makes this such a challenge for this Donegal team. It's not just about the decisions that are made.
But
on
you
the
know what?
sideline.
And the other side of that is, you know what you're going to get with Derry.
Yeah.
Like, we're not 100% sure what we're going to get from Donegal tomorrow under Jim. But we've a better idea what Derry brings to the table, because we've seen the way they have evolved as a team over this last couple of years, the style of football that they're playing. They've named an unchanged team from the side which lined out in the league final last night when the team was released. Now, we still don't have a Donegal team. We're waiting away to see if these players are going to be named in it. It may be later this afternoon when we get it. But from a Derry point of view, you know what you're getting. So you do. But Donegal has changed that much this year with all the problems that Donegal had with the injuries, that, like, you were playing attackers as defenders. So you were, because Jim had to fill these holes. So that's why it's going to be, there seems to be, even though I think there's more pressure on Derry in this game, that they have to come through. There's not as much as Donegal. And we're all waiting to see what Donegal will line out tomorrow and what way they are going to take on the Ulster champions.
Do you think it's fair to say that whatever happens, we can't really allow, Derry to go 1-4, 1-5 up in the first half? Well, I suppose you can't really allow any team to do that.
Particularly Derry.
But it would be very hard to turn.
I think we have to keep the goals out tomorrow. Like we've seen last year when we played Derry, we were cut open really badly. They have these players that run from deep and break lines, and they're able to find the gaps, and they found them with ease last year. So they did. We conceded 3 goals. We could have conceded a lot more in that championship game that was played in Ballybofey. I don't think we're going to concede a lot of goals tomorrow. I think it's going to be a lot tighter. But if you concede a lot early on and there's goals in that mix, Greg, it is going to make the task a bit more difficult as the game goes on. Some might say that Derry are streaks ahead of Donegal. I don't agree with that. I think Donegal is going to be very much in this game as we go to the closing stretch of the tie. And if you're in it at that stage of the game, anything can happen, Greg.
Yeah, it sounds to me though like you've made an awful lot of excuses for it not happening.
I believe it's not that. That's not. I don't think there's going to be this gulf in it that some people are suggesting. So when you hear from some of the pundits down the country, further down south, the way they're talking about the game and how much Derry are going to have in Donegal, and I just wouldn't all buy into that now.
Okay, so where is it won and lost then? What way, as I said in previous games, you've sort of seen the high press and, Donegal playing different ways, maybe giving over a little bit of possession or what have you. I mean, how do you think, given the players that are likely to be available, how do you think we crack the Derry nut?
Well, the way the players are alternating at the moment, Greg, and Gaelic football, the way they change positions, I think the likes of, if Owen Gallagher's fit, we have to wait and see. The likes of Owen Gallagher and Pater Mogan could be two very key players, the way Donegal's playing at the moment. Are we going to kick it long? Are we going to take on the midfielders of Derry with the kickouts? Obviously, you've Conor Glass and you've Brendan Rodgers in there. We're going to have to wait to see if that's something that Jim is going to try. Listen, there's so many variables to this game, Greg. How it can be won and lost. But as back to what I said earlier, we have to wait to see tomorrow how this is going to be played out. It's not going to be all Derry. Donegal, I think they're going to run them close. They're going to give them a good game, and it could be back to the low scoring Ulster games that we've had in previous. But it all It all depends what the two of them brings to the table because Mickey Hart.
I fear if Donegal go into this game looking to keep it tight, that's when Derry blasts through that, builds up that lead, and things might be hard to pull back. But anyway, I don't know.
You have two masterminds of Gaelic football. And Mickey Hart
room.
No, that's as far as you're going to get from it, Greg. Definitely not. Mickey Hart and Jim McGuinness.
Yeah.
Remember, Mickey Hart has never beaten Jim McGuinness, a Jim McGuinness Donegal team in Championship football, an Ulster Championship football. Never beat him in Ulster.
Wow.
So,
that's some stat.
Yeah, Mickey Hart is not going. They're not going to take Donegal lightly. So they're not. But to see it evolve on the pitch and on the sideline as well, what these two men are going to bring to the table, everybody's looking forward to it. The atmosphere is going to be electric. This thing's going to be sold out. Celtic Park's not the biggest ground in Ireland. I think it's 14,000, maybe just shy of 15,000.
The tickets have been hard.
The tickets have been very, very hard to get.
A few fallouts in local clubs, I would say.
I would say there has been a few disputes, okay. But like Donegal have used up their full allocation of tickets. Yeah. I was speaking yesterday to officials, and they've used up all their allocation of tickets.
It's going to be perfect.
There was a few tickets went in general sale yesterday, Greg, but it was a minute number, it wasn't in the hundreds. There was a very, very small number went on general sale yesterday. So it's a funny sort of week, Greg. I spoke to Eamon McGee last night on the Score. You always associate the championship.
What was Eamon's headline again? The headline. What was his?
Don't write off Donegal.
Don't write off Donegal.
And he's right. Don't write off Donegal. Donegal people are not writing off Donegal. The rest of the country are. And Derry won't be writing off Donegal either.
Right. So as a commentator, how much can you enjoy the game?
Donegal's won and you enjoy it.
Can't you? No, but can you?
You can at times. You can enjoy it at times. It depends. It depends how the game goes.
And who's on comms with you tomorrow?
I have Martin McHugh's alongside me. Brendan Devaney's back as well. Yeah, he'll be back tanned. So he will. He's on his holidays.
He'll come back red as a beetroot, not
tanned. So he's back as well. He's joining us in the commentary position. Michael McMullen of Gaelic Life's going to be involved in the preview.
Happy days.
We're going to start our coverage at 5:30. This is what I'm preparing for at the moment. We're just going through Jim McGuinness audio that's going to be part of that piece of the programme as well from 5:30 tomorrow, and then we'll have the match live then from 6:15, Greg. So
goals, we can't concede goals.
No, and I don't think we will.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think we will. Right. I may be wrong, but if we keep it tight, we're definitely going to keep it tighter than what it was.
Yeah.
Celtic Park would be a tighter pitch as well. So we just have to wait and see.
All right, okay. So and there's so much else happening as well over the weekend. We can't go through it now.
Your Tyrone listeners will not be happy with you.
I know, but this is my fault. Who are they playing again?
They're playing Cavan on Sunday. Now remember, Greg, right?
The winners, my Tyrone friends.
The winners of Derry and Donegal will play the winners of Cavan and Tyrone in the semi-final the following week, and then whoever wins that goes to the Ulster final on the 12th of May.
How do you think Cavan Tyrone will go?
I think Tyrone will have just maybe a bit too much for Cavan. Cavan had a big result against Monaghan, but Monaghan haven't been great this year. So they haven't, and it was a good result for them.
Yeah,
they do have home advantage,
games,
but
you don't know how much is
Tyrone,
a good Cavan or a weak in Monaghan. But that's what makes those
the likes of McCurry and Canavan and these sort of players. I think Cavan will have bother dealing with them. So if whoever loses tomorrow, and indeed on Sunday as well, they have a 4-week wait then to the All-Ireland series starts. I think it's the 18th or the 19th of May is the first round, which will include whoever loses this weekend. And then when you get the sides that go to the Ulster final, they're going to be out the following weekend. There are a lot of games coming thick and fast.
I know, I love it. Yeah.
In a way, it's good, but from a player and a team point of view,
nightmare.
It's not that good.
Yeah.
So it's not, because if you want to run an Ulster, Ryan McHugh was on this morning speaking in the bulletin about the disrespect that there is for the Ulster Championship, because hands down,
it's the best.
It's the best.
Of course it is.
Like Kerry are going to swan through Cork. Like we've seen Dublin last week against Meath.
But that's reflected in the attendance of some of these games.
They're not going at 70%.
The thing, the mistake people make is listening to what the pundits say. Because, to be honest with you, part of punditry now at that level is to antagonise. Roy Keane does it for the soccer. Do you know what I mean? I like I don't watch that stuff because I don't find it entertaining. We know what we know. We
want to be entertained, but that's a struggle. Right, we'll give you this scenario, Greg. Derry are being tipped as All-Ireland champions, okay, as contenders for the All-Ireland this year. But Mickey Hart holds the Ulster Championship really, really strongly. He rates it really strongly. He wants another one. So if Mickey Hart is going to take his Derry side to the Ulster title, they're going to have 3 difficult games. They got Donegal, we'll wait to see will it be Tyrone or Cavan, and then probably Armagh, who are on the easy side of the draw in the Ulster final. So they won the Ulster. There's 3 really, really difficult games. And then you're going into an All-Ireland series. But if you look what Kerry have to do, they don't have difficult games in Munster. Dublin don't have difficult. We'll only know in time.
Who's better off?
We'll only know in time. I think that could be when you then go into the All-Ireland series. That having come through that in such a short period of time, and then 2 weeks after your Ulster final, you're into an All-Ireland series. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
I think Derry are tooled better for that journey than maybe we are. But anyway, we'll get over tomorrow night and see what the crack.
We'll see what happens tomorrow. Everybody enjoy the game. So it's going to be fantastic.
Coverage starts at
5:30. Tune our way if you're not there. We'll have expert match
Brendan
analysis.
Devaney,
Martin McHugh. And Michael McMullen of Gaelic Life.
Michael McMullen. All right, brilliant.
Very intelligent man who knows a lot about Gaelic football in Ulster.
Okay.
So he's a Derry man. So he'll give the Derry views, but he knows a lot about Gaelic football.
And
in the
it goes
province.
right across the weekend. As I said, there's so much sport on, and Oisín and his team will have you.
And the Harps are playing tonight.
The Harps are playing
down in Cove Ramblers. Imagine sitting on a bus today, Greg, going to Cove. It's a long old trip, and
they
then
lost
playing
the
a football
last
match.
One, didn't they?
Cove have only won one this year, and it was against Finn Harps, and that was in Ballybofey. Okay. So it was. But good luck to the Harps tonight, and there will be updates from that game as well.
Happy days, Osh. Thanks so much for calling down.
Okay,
it's
great.
Going to be a brilliant. And then there's Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney in the middle of the night too. Boxing. I mean,
you sit up and watch boxing in the middle of the night. I don't.
Well, I'll sit in alone.
I'll
get Hudson up and me and him will get on.
I don't do that. I like my sleep.
All right, back after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Join David James and the Jive Time Show this Friday, live from Easy Living Furniture at the Crescent Link Retail Park in Derry. We're there to celebrate the annual roadshow sale at the Easy Living Furniture store. He'll have guests, giveaways and more on the day. This amazing roadshow sale is now on with incredible reduction across the store. Join us live this Friday from the Easy Living Furniture store at the Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry.
At Holland and Barrett, we believe it's time to change the way we think about our hormones. We've heard for too long, you're hormonal, but that's normal. Let's learn how to work together with our hormones so we're united in our quiet days, high days, what's happening to me days, the wonders of life days. Because when we understand our rhythm, we can own every day of the month. Find personalised solutions to support your hormone health. Now on 3 for 2 at Holland and Barrett. Offer ends 14th of May, subject to availability.
When it's time for confirmation or first communion, it's time for a trip to Watson Menswear, Letterkenny. Choose from a great selection of top label, casual and formal wear. Suits with matching shirts and ties, blazers and jackets. Also denims, chinos and footwear from big names like Diesel, 1880 Club and Tommy Bow. Stand out on the big day at Watson Menswear. Open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny and watsonmenswear.com.
Ryan Adams is back on tour in 2024. Join Highland Radio on our trip to Dublin to see the man himself at the 3 Arena on Tuesday the 21st of May 2024. Your trip includes luxury transfers, bed and breakfast at the 4-star Carlton Hotel Blanchardstown, your standing ticket to the show and a shopping trip to Dublin City Centre the following day. Find out more on the outlet at highlandradio.com or call us on 074 91 25 5,000.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhinney's. With over 50 years of serving the community in Donegal, McElhinney's is proud to be part of every moment, big and small. Support local, shop McElhinney's Ballybofey.
Okay, clouds is going to dissipate as the morning and afternoon wears on. Sunshine developing as we end the day. Temperatures 12 to 13 degrees. Now tomorrow for the game and for anything else that you might be doing, dry and mainly sunny. Highest temperatures of 13 to 14 degrees with light variable winds. A listener says Donegal is going to beat Derry by 2 points. We got a player red carded last out v Derry. Quite controversial, as seen as a cynical play by them. Okay, that's entertainment coming up after these.
Have you discovered the Donegal Boardwalk Resort Restaurant yet? Open every Wednesday to Sunday. Take leisurely strolls along the boardwalk and treat yourself to light bites, hearty lunches or comforting dinners. Complete your stay in our cosy lodges. Explore more at donegalboardwalkresort.ie. Unwind, dine and savour the moment at Donegal Boardwalk Resort, Carrigart.
Teachtarach Fobli ó Chorla Condai Winanal. Be glantahan mór Winanal ag tarla don orchta blianim liana agus is caso go méis sin ní smó na rio. Tarama agus codí lein lan agus glasa yenu de Winanal le Conion, le Hebron agus le Curcha Horcharhi if fihi ceher. Hon claru dal glantahan mór Winanal Curglia nád searta ceher, ní hín, chuig trí, ní nád. Builiste chuig dafa gudurish échul, na tur cuairt Donegal Coco Poncaí. Is féidir le claru freisin dachtas glantahan nation to arian taisce líne ag www.nationalspringclean.org. Tá páirt le hemmert ag gach daine againn bí me se gubar le chéile chun Dunanáil a choneal Allen.
At Electric Ireland, in addition to our recent price reductions for all customers, our new customers will be welcomed with a discount of 24% off electricity plans. So switch today at electricireland.ie or call 1800 30 50 90. Electric Ireland, making your bill smaller and your world brighter. EAB €1,394 electricity based on discounted unit rates, PSO, levy and VAT. Decrease in EAB from 1st of March 2024, subject to change. Terms and conditions apply. See electricireland.ie.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
And I think we're going to find out, actually, the Donegal team to play Derry a little later on today. So we should have it, fingers crossed, if it's today. We should have it for the lunchtime sport. OK, it's 11:11. Let's get a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A meeting has been secured between the Minister of State at the Department of Health and a campaign group in a bid to see the re-establishment of day services in Carndonagh. Tony Doherty of the Restoration of Carndonagh Day Services says older people are missing out on vital social interactions as well as low-level medical interventions. The service closed during the pandemic. Mr Doherty told Greg Hughes as a result, older people and their carers are suffering. A Donegal deputy is calling on the government to provide upfront grant for those who need to remediate their homes in the face of defective concrete blocks. Deputy Pierce Doherty has called on the Minister for Housing to change the scheme, stating that despite homeowners having been badly let down, they're trying to engage with it to rebuild their lives. The Sinn Féin finance spokesperson also highlighted that those remediating their houses are having to borrow money to start the work and are being hit with significant interest costs. Midlands North West MEP has welcomed the commitment from the Taoiseach regarding the establishment of a new veterinary college in conjunction with Atlantic Technological University. MEP Maria Walsh had previously consulted closely with Simon Harris on the move in his prior role of the Minister for Higher Education. As it stands, there's one veterinary medicine course for students in Ireland in UCD, resulting in stiff competition for one of the 85 places. The price of petrol and diesel is expected to rise to €2 a litre in the coming months. Diesel's up 13 cent a litre to €1.78 and petrol's up 9 cent to €1.81 a litre, according to latest figures from the AA. The government increased excise on fuel at the start of the month after rates were cut 2 years ago. And finally, speeding motorists will be targeted by Gardaí as part of the latest National Slowdown Day, which began at 7 this morning. The Garda operation will centre on high visibility speed enforcement across the country's road network. One Donegal driver was already checked doing 131 kilometres in a 100 zone in Tifik Moy. That's all for now. We'll be back again at 12 noon.
Okay, Donna Marie, thank you very much indeed.
Measles is highly infectious and can be serious. About 1 out of 5 people who get measles will be hospitalised. The best protection against the measles is vaccination. If you or your child missed the MMR vaccine, the HSE is now offering a free catch-up programme for children and eligible adults. And once fully vaccinated, you're protected for life. To find out how to get your vaccine and to book an appointment, visit hse.ie/measles. From the HSE.
After a long and busy week, it's time to wind down a little bit, and it's time for That's Entertainment here on the 9 till noon show as we ease our way into the weekend. And we have back in studio with us what some might describe as the dream team. Michael Leddy, writer and a blogger, and also Fionnuala Rabbit. Hello all.
Hi.
How are you all keeping?
Hello, we're keeping very well.
How's life, Michael? I'll ask you first.
Life, coming in to see you, Greg, has just turned my life around this morning, and this is the highlight.
I sense a tone of.
That's what they were saying to me out there too. Okay. Son of sincerity, Greg, is what you're picking up on.
That feels significant.
Yes.
That feels significant.
So I enjoy the crack. Sure, enjoy the crack. Why wouldn't I enjoy
Excellent.
the crack?
Fionnuala, how are you?
I'm good. I'm just trying to figure out which one of the dream team. That obviously brings to mind OJ's
yeah, well,
his team,
crew, his team of lawyers. Am I Kardashian? Am I the? If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
You go straight to the courts, though. For some, it could be a football team. It could be, there's lots.
Am I right in thinking there was a Sky drama dream team? Wasn't there about?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Oh, there was about a football club. Yeah, it was like a pre.
That's right.
Ted Lasso kind of.
I think that was one of the launch shows for Sky One or whatever.
Yes,
it might have been called
something like that. And I never watched it. But I do remember the ads for it, and if I remember correctly, there was a very glamorous lady as sort of the manager or something.
Coronation, there's a lady,
really glamorous.
The lady that was one of the stars of it's a key character in Coronation Street.
Right. Okay.
I can't remember what her name, but.
No, because it was supposed to be the Wags, wasn't it? It was more about there was a lot of them called like Chardonnay and all that kind of stuff, as far as I remember.
Which is a beautiful name.
Yes, nothing wrong with it, but it's just very waggish. It
fits into that, yeah.
It just makes you the way.
Really.
That was her
leave
name.
over. Stop whining about that. See there? I bring the humour.
Absolutely terrible.
I bring the humour.
Things improve from here. Don't go anywhere, folks. We really,
things improve.
We really want, need your listenership.
In fairness.
Right. Okay. Both of you have Civil War down.
We do.
So is this a cinema thing?
Yes, it
right,
is.
Both of you went to it. Do you want to kick off?
Yes, sure. This is in the cinema right now, and it is a movie which looks at present-day America, but in this version of present-day America, there is a full-on civil war taking place. And a couple of states have seceded, and they are mounting an attack on Washington, D.C., But the movie, however, doesn't focus on the politics of the situation. Despite what I've just said, it might sound like it's very much taken from the last 4 or 5 years of, or even the last decade of American history. It focuses with razor-sharp intensity on 4 photojournalists who are travelling across this war-torn landscape towards Washington, D.C., and they are hoping to secure an interview with the President of America, who is has dug in the White House. And we stay with them on their journey, which is for a couple of hours. And Kirsten Dunst is the lead in this. And a gentleman who people will recognise from the TV show Narcos, because I couldn't place him for ages last night. Wagner Morna is one of her companions. So we get to see various incidents on the road to DC. This is a movie that deals with warfare in a very unglamorous, grim, way.
But this portray. I mean, listen, there are those that think, and you'd hope it is stretched, that America is a country that could potentially be on the brink of a civil war.
Yes,
right?
of course,
if the direction of traffic would continue.
Of course, absolutely.
This is an actual representation of what that might look like. So we're not talking about this dystopian future or
it's not
apocalyptic.
It's
this
2024.
Is very much likely if something like this were to happen.
Yeah.
It would pan out.
Exactly.
And I think
we have to, you have to remember, I mean, it's well documented that there are well-armed factions all across America. I mean, not just different, in different states you have, militia groups, you have. So it
and
is.
Then maybe if they split the army.
Yes. Who's loyal to the president, who's loyal to maybe a person in opposition. But what the movie does is it focuses, it's a movie that doesn't have much political context. It really is. Its intent is to be about war in general. We were chatting about this afterwards. And I found that it is somewhat successful in that, but I found it very much focused on the photojournalists. Kirsten Dunst is the lead here, and she gives a universally acclaimed performance as a jaded, celebrated war photographer who makes the observation at one point that she's travelled the world, gone from war zone to war zone, just so something like this could never happen on her doorstep. And now she
probably overstating her role in the world.
In the
politics.
Yeah.
Isn't that really? It's quite nice if she thinks that.
If she thinks that. So it's a grim, very serious-minded film with a few shockingly violent moments. And as one reviewer, I was reading skimming reviews this morning, said that the violence is without any slow motion or anything. It just happens. It just happens, and it's quite shocking, as Fanula can attest for one of the scenes.
I dropped my popcorn.
Dropped is not the word. Sprayed everywhere is they were people 4 rows away who leaving the cinema picking popcorn out of their hats and coats.
I think this sounds like a film, and the way it's portrayed is that dependent on the individual, they'll take something different from it, or what it means, or what it's trying to put across. For you, Fanula,
well, everything that Michael said with it, you know what I mean. They've taken pains to show that it's not Republican, Democrat. Like in it, there's 2 states that have seceded. It's Texas and California. 2 states that in its current state in America, you would imagine could never come together with a combined thought based on what they're, based on the news you hear.
Yes.
So they're very quick. You're not even 100% sure who's the good guys and who the bad guys, because these are photojournalists. So it's very clear when it shows you some very graphic violence that she's seen across the world. They don't intervene. They're just people who they're just observers, and they've just seen some horrific stuff.
Yes.
But so it's not really even about that side of it. I think it's more just kind of the horror of the turn. And to be honest, for me, the movie is like an hour and 40 minutes. Maybe a little bit more. It's one of the few movies that you're like, this could be a bit longer.
Yep.
I was actually going to say that. It sounds like normally we go, oh, my bum's numb, but
I would have liked this to be a little bit longer, because for me, I needed a bit more context for the people. There's a lot of stuff that happens to them, but they try to kind of pull you in very quickly, and I'm not sure do they get you to fully connect with these individuals that are in it. You've got the jaded in it. There's 4 main characters in it. As I said, you've kind of got the guy that's near retirement age,
the veteran,
sitting back veteran guy. Yeah. You've got the 2 jaded. Then you've got a young person that's
very young,
couldn't wait.
She's 20. How sometimes, Fanula, we sort of say that in this day and age, there's kind of a short story that's worth of an hour and a half film, and they drag it out into a 10-parter.
Yeah.
Is this one of those rare occasions maybe that this is the reverse, that maybe this would have been a longer format series?
I think it could have definitely been a longer format. I know, as I said, I think the filmmaker was trying to, he's the same filmmaker that did like Ex Machina and
Annihilation. 28 Days Later, perhaps.
He does those kind of like really sort of dystopian, but in the real world type of a thing. It's like something that could possibly happen. I mean, that 28 Days Later, as far as I remember, was about
a
like
disease, wasn't it?
A virus. That's what I thought.
Virus,
and then
we did subsequently see the streets of London
completely closed,
completely empty.
Machina, as far as I remember watching it years and years ago, was about machines kind of overcoming.
So it's like an AI thing, was it? I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of AI sort of things. So
he has his finger on. Ex Machina is a good film.
He has his finger on the pulse.
He does. Yeah. So I just think this could have been a little bit longer for me. I would have liked a little bit more. I know he was trying to avoid, I think, because I was even listening to, because the guy that plays the president is, say his
Nick
name.
Offerman.
Love him. And but his role is very small in it. And I saw him being interviewed afterwards. I was watching him, and he was saying, they didn't want people to be walking out thinking Democrats and Republicans. They wanted them to be thinking more about the concept, in a bigger way. And maybe that's why he didn't go into much depth into it. But it's definitely an interesting one to watch. And you definitely, I was saying to Mike, it's one you want to go and see it with somebody.
People, yeah.
Because you're going to want to talk about it. It's one of those movies that you'll see, and you definitely want to talk about the different.
Is this Don't Look Up was to climate change what is to sort of geopolitical or even internal disputes?
It's an interesting one.
People that, in other words...
It's not trying to teach you anything, though, the way Don't Look Up was very much kind of...
Well, is it not trying to teach us in that we could be on the brink of this type of stuff? You have to understand... Not you have to understand, that sounds perhaps...
No, go on.
But there used to be a point where you could make an emotive argument because it hurt someone, right? But now you can't because that person's collateral damage to my point. And that's festering. And how far away are we from a neighbour turning a gun on another person they don't agree with for a bigger cause? Now, I haven't seen this, but I just wonder if will it serve to say that, this is a film, but it happens in other parts of the world, and is the unthinkable potentially possible in a country like the United States? Or
what you're saying,
I'm digging too deep.
What you're saying resonates. I think it holds a mirror up to a lot of what's happening in modern day America. So you could be on the track. I would never have looked at it quite that way.
To be honest, for me to do what you're talking about, it would need to go much deeper.
Right.
It's very much kind of what I found about it, which I'd say will reflect, is people don't seem to really know exactly what's going on, except that they're all fighting each other. You know what I mean? And it's that kind of a feeling that you get from it, rather than, at no point does it say what happened.
Yeah.
What was the turning point that what I mean, that actually
But I
broke.
think that's what it's given the audience. That's why I think it's so subjective. So people might go, well,
it's more about the conversation.
Could it be the debate on this? Could it be the debate on that? Could it be?
Well, I think which is unlike, what I mean. Don't Look Up was very much kind of like,
the media is ignoring. Yeah, and the media is ignoring
happening.
it. Yeah.
We have to stop this. We have to do
X.
More
preachy then.
It was a little bit more. Whereas this is very much, like I said, this is more that you'd want to go and see it with somebody. Very hard. I was saying to Mike straight away when it ended, I was like, if you were sitting in the cinema on your own now after watching this, frustrating, because you would be like searching online wherever to find somebody to talk about it.
Yes, you would.
It's one of those.
Even if it was just to say, if you were just say what probably started it, you'd want to talk about that.
Yeah, there's lots of different bits.
But if you were a director and that was your aim, you've hit the jackpot, haven't you?
Yeah.
If you wanted
if it's
to be
about
a
having
discussion point.
Yeah, if you wanted, and maybe that's exactly why it's so short and why it's so. You know what I mean? It holds your attention. There's a lot of stuff happening in it. There's no kind of like big long speechy conversations. At the most, it's more about the kind of, even in the silences, she's Kirsten Dunst is excellent in it.
But when you
Her
see sort of
up and he's
civilians with guns, fighter jets flying over scenery that we're used to seeing in different types of films,
exactly
missists going off in urban areas that seem somewhat familiar, is that, in other words,
that's exactly what it is. And it's like at one point you see kind of neighbour hurting neighbour and just atrocities happening that are just kind of like a part of the normal life, what you'd normally think you'd see. But does this not
bring to the West what we somewhat ignore in the Middle East?
That's exactly what I was thinking as I was saying that.
Yeah,
it's like you just see it's that's, I think,
like we dehumanize we dehumanize
desensitize to it, or we dehumanize each other.
Well, I
we're
think it's just
desensitized
because
to it.
It's like anything. It's just you think things are so far away, you just assume it'll never happen here. I think it's one of those things.
Because we're civilized, you see, in inverted commas, and I don't believe that.
No, but that's you just
justified.
Say, that's over there.
Justification.
You know what I mean? Oh, that happens over there. That's not something.
And they do that kind of thing, but we wouldn't. It would never happen here.
Everything. There's a lot of stuff that happens in it, and you kind of think that's stuff that they've seen in or that we've seen in other parts of the world. But I think that for an American audience in particular, I would imagine that it's a little bit more hitting home when you see it in your
what
own.
I found interesting in just watching the trailer is the visuals of journalists walking around in flak jackets and helmets with press on.
Yeah.
In familiar urban environments of the United States of America.
Oh, yeah. And you see, like, people go with UNICEF things trying to do, like, food banks, and you have, like...
You see, in one scene, it's a beautifully shot film, and a lot of critics have commented on that, but in one scene, you have, like, a downed helicopter in front of a J.C. Penney store.
Mm-hmm.
And that image is really powerful. And I mean, I can only imagine how that would resonate with an American audience.
It sounds to me like we're not getting a beginning and a middle and an end, then.
No, it's just like...
how do you finish this film off? Obviously, we can't discuss it now.
No, but you're right, yeah. It's a very much a... It's a
moment
40...
in time kind of an idea.
It's like 48 or 72 hours in the lives of these people, really, isn't it? It's just this journey.
It really is. They've 600 kilometres to drive, or miles, it's American, so this probably is miles. They've 800, I think, to start off with, miles to drive.
Spoiler.
And that's basically what it is.
Shush. And then the number goes down.
Again.
The number goes down.
That felt significant.
No, I don't. It's not at all. No, he's just taking
right, so this sounds like a film that it takes a wee while to figure out what you'd give it out of 10.
It does.
Have you come to your conclusion,
I
Michael
have.
Lilly?
I'm going to first of all say that critics and audiences are on the same page, 82% and 77%, and I'm going to land in exactly the same place, a good 8 out of 10.
Mrs. Rabbit?
Yeah, I would be close. I think I'd be a little bit less because I would still go about a 7 with it.
Poo.
I know, I know, but I love. My whole thing is I need to connect with the characters.
I've been doing this a long time with you.
I know. Oh God, I absolutely
some
do.
of the trash.
I absolutely do. You'd be amazed. I mean, Bridgerton is out next month, and I'm very excited. But
that's the naughty one. I keep mixing that up with Downton Abbey.
I'm hoping it's getting less naughty because, like I keep saying, it's the neighbours.
No, I saw some stills in one of the newspapers.
Oh, stop! Don't tell me that now because it's the neighbour's child, so I definitely don't want to be seeing that.
Right.
But the I would definitely give this a 7 or so. It's more I'd actually would have liked it longer.
Yeah.
I would have liked a little bit more for me to. I just need a little bit more kind of background and then to really kind of care about what it's very shocking. It's shocking. It hits it, like I said, fucking.
As the people who were picking popcorn out of their hair last night can attest, Fanula was shocked.
Yeah,
it was. It was definitely.
So first watch,
enjoyable is a weird.
6.5
enjoyable is a weird word to use for it. It's it's that kind of a movie, but you'll definitely end up talking about it, and it's definitely.
And I would imagine this looks unbelievable on the big screen.
Big screen film, yeah.
Yes, it
big
does.
Screen film,
definitely. And even just to see, because America is so familiar to us, there's lots of little spots in it that you're kind of like, all right, I know where that is, and to see them kind of like. Bombing it or blowing it up and shooting all around it kind of.
Well, particularly when they get to Washington in the last third of the movie. I mean, we know Washington. We've seen it on 24. We've seen it on The West Wing. We've seen it on everything. We recognise many landmarks.
Yeah,
and we get to see them in a completely differerent context in this film. And
it
is very interesting, thought-provoking film.
Definitely much better than Khan versus Godzilla, which is the other
No, it's
movie.
not.
You made me go.
No, it's not.
Right, let's take a break. And well, it sounds like there's a difference of opinion there, so we might have to go to that one after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
Walk the line with the award-winning Johnny Cash and June Carter tribute show Cash Returns, live at the Strual Arts Centre Omagh on Saturday 20th of April and at the Ballard Arts Theatre Ballybuffet on Saturday 4th of May. Limited tickets on sale now at both box offices. That's Cash Returns at the Strual Arts Centre Omagh on Saturday 20th of April and at the Ballard Arts Theatre Ballybuffet on Saturday 4th of May.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €120 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Foy & Company, Ballybuffet and Letterkenny are the largest stockists of interior and exterior paint in the Northwest. If you're planning a painting project and need help picking the right colour and brand of paint for your home or commercial premises, call in and ask our qualified paint colour consultants, interior designers and interior stylists. The team at Foy & Company, Ballybuffet and Letterkenny will be delighted to help.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5, so if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, Let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie.
At Century Cinemas, we have a selection of event cinema coming up this April with live shows of the Royal Ballet, Macmillan Celebrated and Swan Lake. Also, the Met Opera La Rondine by Puccini. To make the event even more luxurious, we will be showing it on our premier screens. To book your tickets, visit our website at centurycinemas.ie.
Easy Living Furniture's biggest ever roadshow sale is here. Come discover the amazing roadshow deals such as all sofas reduced, all dining reduced, all bedroom reduced, all mattresses reduced, and with interest-free finance available. This is one sale not to be missed. The spectacular roadshow sale with absolutely everything reduced is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
Now, Michael and Fanula will be back with us momentarily, but I want to tell you about the renowned theatre company Grease Paint Productions. They're returning to St Mary's Hall, Buncrana, with a beautiful interpretation of Brian Friel's masterpiece, Dancing at Lunison. Sheila Brown, who plays Kate Mundy and is also assisting with props, costume and administration, joins us. Good morning, Sheila.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for calling in. Maria Doherty-Lee plays Rose Mundy. Good morning to you.
Morning.
And lastly, but certainly not least, Janet McGrory plays Agnes Mundy. How are you keeping?
I'm keeping grand.
Right. This is it's a big play, isn't it? You know what I mean? There's great responsibility in taking something like this on because you want to do it justice, and I'm sure I've no doubt at all that you will. But that in itself makes it exciting, Sheila.
It does, very much so, especially because of where we're performing it, the location, geographically so, back home in Donegal with a Donegal cast. And Grease Paint are delighted to have the opportunity to do this, to have secured the rights in order to be able to do this. The fact that it's Grease Paint's 12th show. Grease Paint originated in 2008, so we've always hankered a desire to do this show on home ground. So I'm very excited to do that.
Maria, do you want to sort of, for those who may not be aware, give us a wee outline of the story that's told?
Yeah, so it's, in essence, Dancing at Lunison is a memory play. So it's all told from the perspective of Michael Evans, about 25, 30 years after the play takes place in Ballybeg in 1936. And it's told from Michael's point of view, from his memory of that particular summer. It's a very pivotal summer in the lives of the Mundy family. Change happens. It's just before World War II. The Industrial Revolution is about to come to Ballybeg, and it's really about the struggles and the day-to-day life that the five unmarried sisters go through, and music and dancing is at the heart of it, and that's probably because that is the summer they got their first radio, Marconi, and so that's something that really resonates with Michael as he moves through his life, that memory of the aunts and the music and the dancing. And at times you don't know, is this factual or is this just Michael's childhood imaginings or memories as they go through? So there's laughs, there's tears. It's a very, very emotive play, and there's something in it for everyone, and there's definitely elements of life in Donegal that we probably all remember growing up from our grandparents and aunts and uncles.
There's a familiarity.
It's and it's very nostalgic, and yeah.
And Janet, not jumping forward, but then jumping back, you know, the rights were referenced, and maybe people who aren't in the scene don't realise that, you know, there was this is to be able to secure the rights to actually put this on in and of itself was a big step.
Oh, it was indeed, because only one production company can do it at a time, so it was great for us to achieve that, to be able to get the rights to play it.
Yeah, okay, and which is a great endorsement too of the company.
It is indeed, yes.
All right, okay. So tickets are just €12, which seems very generous, if I could put it like that. Great value. It's at St Mary's Hall, Buncrana, from Wednesday the 24th of April until Saturday the 27th of April at 7:30 p.m. nightly. Sheila, is this for a general audience?
Oh, absolutely. Very much so. And can I just say, on the back of the ticket sales, we en route, our director, Mr. Donal Henderson, told us to disseminate that we have a offer for Highland Radio listeners.
Oh, wow, okay.
From 12 noon today until 12 noon tomorrow, when you are purchasing your tickets, if you submit or enter or say the code DANCE, capital letters DANCE, then you will get a reduced rate for your ticket from 12 noon today to 12 noon tomorrow.
Fantastic. So a 24-hour window which opens in half an hour. Quote will say the word dance, and you will actually even get to watch this great production for less than the already reasonable, I think, €12. So ticketsource.eu/grease paint -productions. And this runs from, I just want to recap, 24th of April, that's the middle of next week, till Saturday the 27th of April. Because, as you've mentioned, Janet, the window of opportunity, we don't know when a production of this, be it by you guys or anyone else, might be available in Donegal again. So this is significant.
Oh, it is indeed.
Yeah, okay. Are you going to do a bit for us?
We will.
We do.
So who wants to set it up? Sheila, I'm getting Sheila vibes from setting this up. Am I right, ladies?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is...
And I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Absolutely. And I am method acting because I play the character of Kate, who is the eldest sister. We have our elder brother Michael, who is our missionary brother, who has been in Rwanda for the last 25 years as a missionary priest. He returns, and to the family of 5 unmarried sisters who have their ups and downs and ins and outs, and this is a good example of it. This scene, Kate is quite the matriarch who rules with an iron rod.
Yeah, she's
yes, and her authority is evident throughout the play.
So we have Sheila playing Kate, we have Maria playing Rose, and Janet playing Agnes across the whole play, but also for the benefit of this short excerpt. So whenever you are ready, ladies.
This shorter excerpt is when the girls decide that they would like, because it is the festival of Lunasa in August, summertime. It's a pagan festival. Kate is not keen, but the girls want to go because they want to dance. We don't get out much, and they would like to go. And so really it's the conversation around that.
Okay. Wouldn't it be a good one if we all went to the harvest dance, just like we used to, all dressed up? I think I'd go.
I'd go too, Aggie. I'd go with you.
For heaven's sake, you're not serious, Agnes, are you?
I think I am.
Ha! It's more than Ballybeg off its head. Have you any idea what it'd be like crawling with cheeky young brats that I taught years ago, and all the riff-raff of the countryside?
I think we should all go. What do you say? You look great in that cotton dress you got for confirmation last year. You're beautiful in it, Kit. And you can wear my brown shoes with the crossover straps.
This is silly talk. We can't, Agnes. How can we?
Will Maggie go with us?
Oh, God, Agnes. What do you think?
We're going.
Are we?
We're off. We're away.
Maybe we're mad. Are we mad?
I've £5 saved. I'll take us all. How many years has it been since we were at the harvest dance? At any dance. And I don't care how young they are, how drunk and dirty and sweaty they are. It's the festival of Lunasa. I'm only 35 and I want to dance, Kate.
Ach, I know, Agnes, I know it. All the same. Oh, my God, I just don't know.
It's settled. We're going. The Monday girls, all 5 of us together, like we used to.
I love you, Aggie. I love you more than chocolate biscuits.
No. We're going nowhere. Look at yourselves. Will you just look at yourselves? Dancing at our time of day. That's for young people with no duties and no responsibilities and nothing in their head but pleasure.
Kate, I think if
Do
we...
you want the whole countryside to be laughing at us? Women of our years, mature women, dancing. What's come over you all? And this is Father Jack's home. We must never forget that. Ever. No. We're going to no harvest dance.
But you just said...
And there'll be no more discussion about it. The matter is over, and I don't want it mentioned again.
Well done. Sounds brilliant. I got lost in that a little bit in a really positive way, actually. I kind of want to hear what happens next. You know what I mean?
Good.
Okay, so that's just a sample, an audio sample. Of course, this is a very visual production as well of what you can enjoy. Well worth travelling to Buncrana if you're not from the Inishowen area. It's from Wednesday the 24th of April until Saturday the 27th of April at 7:30pm nightly. Tickets are just €12, but as we heard from Sheila, a special offer for you listening today, that if you quote the word dance when booking your tickets online, or I'll find out how else you can get them, you actually get it. You actually get a discount on the already reasonable €12. And as I say, not easy to secure the rights to this play, and it just so happens to be now that it can be shown in Donegal for all of the importance of that with Mr. Friel and its location and all that kind of stuff. It sells itself to some extent. So other than the ticketsource.ie/Grease Paint-Productions, where can tickets be got?
We have a box office which opens on Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. So you can pop in person, and if you can't pop in person to buy your tickets, then you can telephone during box office hours on 086 459 5016. And if you quote dance, then you also get your discount.
Yeah, and we will, by the way, we will post all this on our social media. It's very hard to pick up numbers that you're not familiar with, but we'll do the links and we'll do the number and all that jazz. Right, okay, thanks so much, Sheila, Maria and Janet. Love it, and thank you so much for calling down. It's going to be a huge success, but there's only a couple of 4 shows. Would that be? I'm not very good with inclusive days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, 4 shows.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4. Okay, 4 opportunities, and it's in the wonderful setting of St Mary's Hall. Okay, thank you all 3 of you very much indeed, and check out our social media in the next few minutes. We'll get that info up there for you. Back with more after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Silage costs to remain high this summer. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal how much it will cost you to make bale silage this year. Flooding at Roscommons, Lough Funchina, the worst in living memory. Dry stock farmers sleepwalking into nitrates penalties. Everything farmers need to know about the new fodder scheme. Minister kills compensation for dairy exit scheme. High Court blocks further work at Donegal Wind Farm. We analyse Lakeland, Aribo and Arabon annual results. And how to register for the upcoming Renewables Roadshow in Cavan.
All inside the Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
Are your small appliances due an upgrade? Irwin Expert Electrical, your ultimate destination for all things electrical. From stylish toasters and kettles to innovative coffee machines and air fryers. Or elevate your tech game with our selection of smartwatches, iPads, laptops and phones, and TVs from all your top brands. Stay connected with Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
The life of a Charlie's chip is never dull. Once they're selected, they're off to Charlie's, where they lose that jacket, have a nice wash, and get into shape. Before going out, there's always a few nerves, totally unnecessary, because, let's face it, they always go down well. Enjoy Charlie's chips to sit in or take away daily from 12 to 8 at Pierce Road, Letterkenny. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's.
Skoda's 2 brand new models are going fast. This is Donal, driving off in his new HVO-powered Superb Combi. And the Breen family, getting their plug-in hybrid Kodiaq. And this is the sound of someone who didn't get their order in on time. Order your new Skoda today, before it's too late. Skoda. Let's explore.
Skoda. Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
Join David James and the Jive Time Show this Friday, live from Easy Living Furniture at the Crescent Link Retail Park in Derry. We're there to celebrate the annual roadshow sale at the Easy Living Furniture store. He'll have guests, giveaways and more on the day. This amazing roadshow sale is now on with incredible reduction across the store. Join us live this Friday from the Easy Living Furniture store at the Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry.
Okay, really enjoyed that. Thanks to the ladies once again for calling down. And go on our socials, Facebook, Highland Hub. We'll have the links up for you if you want to secure your ticket for that show. And you can hear from the quality of the presentation. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. Okay, now the Highland Radio Customer Services Awards in association with McElhenny's. Well, we're now doing our final call for nominations. Don't miss out on the opportunity to nominate your favourite business for the Highland Radio Customer Services Award in association with McElhenny's Department Store. If you haven't already submitted your nomination, now is the perfect time to do so. Nominations will be closed closing on Tuesday, April 23rd, so make sure to act fast. Now, of course, too, also businesses, don't be shy, don't be coy. You're all on social media. Make sure that those that you go to an awful lot of effort to please and to serve and what have you, that they know this is happening as well. Stick it up on your socials and get them to nominate you, because the awards ceremony, and we want you there, is scheduled. I like the word scheduled, as if possibly. No, but it is definitely. It's only scheduled. Definitely. It's taking place on June 2nd at the Mount Errigal Hotel. And if it's anything, the last one's anything to go by, it will be an unforgettable evening. Wonderful thing to be involved with, to be even a small part of. Get to highlandradio.com now to nominate. It's a really simple process, it has to be said. And it's just a little something that won't cost you anything to back your local business, your local NINRA, your local community hall, your local whatever it might be. Fionnuala, you're going to back me on this. Get the nominations in. It's a brilliant response already, but hey,
look at it, it's amazing. Like when we did this last year, I think we had something like 14 or 15,000 nominations for businesses all across the county. They don't have to be anywhere in particular. They can be online only. They can be whatever you want. If people have had a good customer experience with any kind of a business or service across the county, they should send it in, because I think the good thing about this is, and what's interesting for the businesses is, it's the nomination is really what the prize is, because it just goes to show you that the work and the effort. I mean, customer service is one of those things that a lot of businesses put so much work into, but they're not making any money out of it. You know what I mean? They're making money out of whatever the product is that they're selling. When they're putting in that extra service, when they're training their staff well, when they're, setting up a culture within their business that the customer, is valued and is important and that they want to give back to them, then that's something that's an extra that they're, cost that they're bringing to themselves. So it's great for them to be rewarded for it. And I think it's great for the public to acknowledge the good service.
And we start too from square one, by the way. So if you were nominated last year and you weren't successful, don't let that deter you. As I say, we start from square one. If you won last year, go again, because who's to say that you might not be a double award winner, which is a great thing to be able to advertise and to reassure your customers or potential customers that you're the right person to provide such services. Okay, so get onto our website, highlandradio.com, anticipating hopefully a big rush to, we've already a huge response, but before and it doesn't matter if you're on the Tipperary or at the bottom of Bundoran, you can nominate businesses there.
Okay. Or if you're self-employed, or if you have 1,000 people working for you.
Power washing.
Yeah.
I got power washing done. Absolutely amazing. I can't say or not whether I nominated, because can I?
Yeah,
nominate.
you can. Of course you can nominate away, yeah.
I did. So if you see something from John Smith, that's me. Yeah. No, but you know what I mean? It's just different stuff.
Yeah.
What are you laughing?
No, everybody can nominate.
That's an incredible talent there you have for fake names. Incredible. If you turn to a life of crime, we're all done for.
Okay,
we'll never find you.
Well, if you see me a John Smith in the hotel, I wouldn't book the room next door.
Now I'm grossed out.
Oh God.
No, your granny could watch what's going on inside. It would just be sleeping and stuff. Right, I am
playing Snap.
We're going to talk about a film now that I know I will never watch, whether it's on ITV2 in 10 years' time or in the cinema. Godzilla and
Someday
King Kong.
You'll be sitting with all your boys and you'll be
you will.
Like, come on.
You will.
Okay, right. Well, anyway.
I can totally see it.
This is making me favour Fionnuala going first for some reason. I don't know. Right, what's the premise?
Premise is that's stretching it, isn't
what
it?
What is the obsession with Godzilla?
To be honest, I don't understand now, and that's why I'm good to go first, because
I'm just going to be upset listening to this.
Gentleman
putting
to
my fingers in my
said,
ears.
"Oh my God, you'd love it." We were in the cinema watching something else, I'd say about a month ago, and the trailer came up. And I, of course, in my lofty position in life, rolled my eyes and went, "Oh, no." And he was like, "Oh my God, you'd love it." And then proceeded to send me links to clips of the earlier movies just to get me up to date.
Enemies when you've got
just to get me up to speed. And then
rising above all this,
me like plot details and key characters and that of the previous movies, so that when I went to see this, I didn't feel lost. Now, to say that there's a story to this story is bizarre. I have seen stuff with Michael before in which I was like, rolling my eyes. And actually, they were quite enjoyable. They were daft, but they were enjoyable. This, I just don't get it. I just couldn't get it at all. Like, and Michael explained the story of it. Basically, it's about Kong and Godzilla, and now they're best friends.
That's it.
They're best friends forever.
I feel like the subtleties.
I don't think Fionnuala's actually
the target audience.
No, I don't think she's actually said enough bad about this before I'm gonna let you.
Because you know what was strange about this movie? I went to this movie assuming from, like, it's a long time since I've seen a Kong or Godzilla movie. I'm saying now it's probably back in the 80s. You know what I mean? I don't think I've
my
seen.
reference point.
I'm not really big into the kind of monster movies as these come in. I either find them farcical or too scary, depending on what the monster is. So I usually stay out of it. But in this, I just, like, at least 3/4, if not more, of this movie was people attempting to make a story. And you're like, do people come to these movies looking for the story? I assumed that I was going to walk in the door and from the get-go...
There has to be a loose narrative, doesn't there?
I know, but they were actually trying to, like, establish an actual narrative. Loose narrative, I'm fine with.
Okay, I get you.
But this was like they were trying to establish an actual narrative, and I was like, should it not just be the one Godzilla and Kong smashing up stuff? Is that not why we're here?
Yeah, but also too, what I don't understand, why not just make it a cartoon? Because even when they try and bring the level of destruction and splashes and bridge destruction into the real world, it's so excessive it doesn't look real to me anyway.
Oh, now I'll give it its due. Now this definitely looks good. I'm going to say CGI. I'm assuming it's probably much.
No, that was a real.
I'm assuming
real giant monkey.
I'm assuming it's much further because I am due to go to Rio de Janeiro next year, and after this I'm like, there's no point now. It's destroyed.
It's gone.
It's like,
it's gone.
Yeah, in fairness, I mean, in this, Godzilla lives in the Colosseum in Rome. And you're like, would you put up with it? I don't think so. It's just daft.
It's just the fighting in the cities. That's what put me off Batman versus Superman. I think.
You love
all this destruction and.
But do you not remember? When I see this destruction, I don't mind it because I always just think back to, you remember Team America, and in the opening credits, they absolutely destroy Paris. If anybody has not seen Team America, don't watch it with your granny, but you should totally watch it.
You have to see it.
And it starts off and they've totally destroyed Paris, and then they get out. They get out of the planes and they hands on hips like they're superheroes. They go, "No need to thank us. We're Team America."
Brilliant. That sums up exactly what I'm talking about. Before I ask, is Godzuki in this?
Oh my goodness! How do you remember Godzuki? That's
what's so funny.
Who's Godzuki?
Godzuki was in the Godzilla. That's way before your time. Godzilla and Godzuki was a Saturday morning. I loved that show.
But they didn't just show it once, you know.
I suppose. Yeah, all right. So it must have repeated it. But this was, to me, that was the late 70s.
Godzuki was brought into that.
Did your daddy and mommy tell you about that? That was the late 70s.
Get our sleeping bags Saturday morning.
Watch Godzilla and Godzuki.
From the depths.
Yes.
30 stories high. Yeah.
Oh, you got to find the theme. You were playing themes last week.
I know, but I think it kicked a load of people off our socials, so I can't do that now.
Oh, okay.
No, just that you did it.
I know. Just mean, yeah.
I just wish they weren't so.
Yes.
You just have to learn how to sing all of them.
But that's a pretty good. Now I'll be going home. I'll be going home to YouTube that. That was a great show. I loved
great theme tune.
No idea.
So you don't remember like Fang Face, no? 10 o'clock.
No, we're not friends. What I mean by that is we are friends, right?
But we're not
me and you ain't gonna be.
We're not gonna have that conversation. We're not gonna have that conversation.
I'm not gonna come and look at your comic collection or stand watching you rewind your videos. Now, if you want to go out to a quiz or have a pint?
I thought we had connected.
No, if you want to go to a quiz or go for a pint, yeah.
I thought we had connected.
Nah.
I thought we had connected there. Connected.
Come here.
Connected.
Tell us what
so
you
basically,
thought of
I have to say Fionnuala was wrong about everything she said, and I feel guilty because I brought her to see a film and the nuances.
How long is it?
And the subtleties of this
it's like
movie.
2 hours and 20 minutes or something.
They're lost on Fionnuala. And Fionnuala said to me, when we mentioned this first, Fionnuala said to me, and I think that sums it up, she said, this is very much a boys' film, isn't it?
I think it's a good sign of your friendship, and it did need a kick in the bum.
Kick it did, yeah.
This was a 3-hour sacrifice for you.
I know. I'm always giving, though. He just takes off with Katie.
Let's talk about the film. This is the 5th movie in the franchise. 5th film. The Monsterverse franchise. These shouldn't work because they're putting together 2 monster movie icons, but it works. The 3rd movie was the low point. 4 was better than 3. I loved this film. It really... It broadens the story of the franchise by taking a lot of the action to this inner Earth. So it takes it away from the cities for some of the action, and it sets up a whole world inside the hollow Earth. a place where King Kong can really shine because he finds his own people. Greg's brilliant. He's nodding away here as if he's listening, but I know he's actually nodded off. You've just turned on music. Yeah, no, I'm doing
my grocery. I'm doing my grocery list in my head.
I think this film is great, and I say that in the context of it really, better than the last one, it achieves what the director/writer set out to do.
Which is?
It's big and fun. It's shut off your brain. You start rooting. I love the King Kong character. He's really emerged over his 3 films in the franchise as this adorable curmudgeon who is like, we're rooting for him. We care about him more than we care about Godzilla. Rebecca Hall as the actress, I thought was very, very good in this. I like her. Dan Stevens joins the franchise in this film. I don't think he's particularly well cast as the character he's playing, who's meant to be a sort of Ace Ventura, larger-than-life, jokey kind of guy. I like Dan Stevens. I don't think this role suits him. But Rebecca Hall and the others are very good. And there is a story here. I mean, it's like there's like somebody needs help. They send out a telepathic signal. That gets responses from not just some of the characters we've met in earlier films, but also the monsters. You get to see some great fight scenes. It's bigger and larger than life. And it's just great fun.
How much out of 10 then?
9 out of 10 from me.
Oh, sweet God.
Critics.
Who cares what the critics?
Because the critics gave it 54%, but audiences are on the same nose as me, or same point as me, 91%. Because it's great fun, and it's probably.
I think for the type of film it is, they'll be happy enough with 54 from the critics. To be honest with you, because
the only really weak one was the third one. I will say that was weak, and I think one of the things that's good about this film is they've not brought Millie Bobby Brown back, and she was not an asset to the franchise.
Okay.
She was in 3 and 4 and
all right, so 9 out of 10. I mean, let's take an average. This is going to drag the average down, but what would you give it out of 10?
Well, in it, even to me, first of all, if I was judging it as a movie that I would go and see, I'd probably give it like a 4 or 5. But my problem with it is there just wasn't enough of the actual fighting in it. Is that not why we like the Fast and the Furious? He made me go and see that as well. Wouldn't be my cup of tea. Wouldn't be my cup of tea. But at least it was Fast and Furious. I could get.
But I could get on board with it. And it was also furious.
But you like the Transformers.
I love the Transformers.
But these are interchangeable with these.
Yeah, okay, well, so out of 10.
I mean, if you like that kind of thing, you're probably going to like it. I'd still only give it a 5 or 6. I've seen better.
You're not the target audience.
Yeah, but I've seen better in that genre that that I'm not.
You can appreciate it. You might not be the target audience.
But I come out of books and I go, oh dear, like I said, the Fast and Furious. I mean, Vin Diesel emoting is just
incredible.
Again,
beautiful.
another big screen one. If you like this stuff, you want to go and see it.
It's got all that. It just, to be honest, it didn't have enough of what I assume people go to this for.
Yeah. Did she throw any popcorn around for this
Not for this one, no. And I gotta say, if you watch the trailer, I mean, come on, they give King Kong a big glove, a robot glove to punch with.
Who makes it?
That's the coolest thing.
Who makes it?
There's scientists who work with him. There's scientists, and King Kong communicates he knows sign language.
They basically give.
Yeah, some critics who didn't like it said it's too much of a superhero film.
Yes,
but it is a superhero film, and the monsters are the heroes.
Well, it's certainly not a documentary. Okay, right. That was mixed views, and I think you, as the audience, I think if you're of the mind that Michael is, that's not an insult. You can absolutely love it. If you look for something else in the cinema experience, like Fanula, arguably, though they both like the same things as well, I think though you'll get a fair sense that I think anyone who goes to see it will enjoy it. It's just whether you come out going ugh or yee. Really.
Yeah,
and the thing about this film is, if you're going to see this in the cinema, you've probably seen 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you know what you're getting, and you'll come out of this one, I think, saying, "Oh, actually, that's better. That's one of the better ones."
Let's take a quick break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
The Donegal branch of the Irish Kidney Association are hosting a service of remembrance and thanksgiving on Sunday 21st of April at 3 p.m. in St Mary's Church, Dunarder, to remember organ donors and donor families. Organ Donor Awareness Week runs from 20th of April to 27th of April. For more information, visit ika.ie.
At Lidl, we're still dropping prices. Get a full 4-person family shop at Lidl for €103.24 and save €53. Or pay over €157 in Dunn stores. Go on, go full Lidl today. Full shop completed on the 9th of April 24. Pro rata price comparison based on supermarket own label products where applicable. See Lidl.ie for more.
Enjoy the Cuppatay Festival Ardra May Bank Holiday Weekend, Friday 3rd to Monday 6th of May. This year honours the very popular Tara Conahan at a special concert on Friday night. Join world-class schools of music on fiddle, flute, whistle and uilleann pipes this year. The Cuppatay Festival Ardra May Bank Holiday Weekend. For more details and accommodation, see ardra.ie or cupoftayfestival.ie.
Virgin Media is bringing Ireland's best broadband to more and more homes. Big homes, little homes, outhouses, haunted houses, big gaffs in the country, non-bouncy castles. Number 16, Oxbow Lake Houses. The house with all the cats. Get 2 gig full fibre broadband with 99.9% reliability from Virgin Media. It's playtime.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. Subject to availability. Ireland's best broadband. See virginmedia.ie/proof.
Craving a taste of bliss by the water? The Water's Edge in Rathmullen. Join us from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. daily and sample our delicious new breakfast menu. We also have a daily lunch special from 12 p.m. Or why not sample our dinner menu from 4 p.m. The Water's Edge Rathmullen, where tranquility and good food come together.
Whatever the weather, Tesco's got you covered with our finest barbecue range, like Bordbia quality assured Irish Angus burgers with sriracha chili mayo, any 3 for 2 with your club card. And look your finest too with lower prices on hundreds of F&F fashion items. Tesco. Every little helps. Subject to availability, exclusions apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Support local at McElhinney's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
All right, so it's really good to be able to bring you a positive weather forecast, although it depends on the type of weather you like. Cloud that's around at the moment is going to break up as this day wears on, with sunshine developing towards the end of the day. Temperatures 12 to 13 degrees, winds light to moderate. Dry and clear tonight, little or no wind, lowest temperatures 0 to 4 degrees. So just keep a note of that, gardeners, over the next couple of days, because it is going to get cold at night. The risk of some grass frost further inland. Personally, I don't think it makes any difference. And dry and mainly sunny Saturday, highest temperatures of 13 to 14 degrees, and we're looking at dry weather up until Wednesday. Very little precipitation across the northwest for the next few days. No, when you look, you're probably going to Galway or something, are you?
No. I'm actually going to be here, which is... I need things to warm up a small bit.
Yeah,
imagine, did you see the Dubai thing? That was unbelievable, wasn't it? The rain.
Unbelievable.
And not only that, I just kept thinking, if I went all the way to Dubai on my holidays to get away from the rain here, and then that happened, I'd be like...
And then probably disruptions at the airport and all. But they don't have the drainage infrastructure to deal with, a year's rain in a day.
No. And I don't want to talk lightly about climate change, but come on.
Yeah.
We were promised it was going to get hot. We were told.
Oh my God.
We were told.
Do you not understand
back in the 80s.
Oh,
I know.
no, you're not one of those people.
We were told in the 80s. Birthday to you.
What's this?
Happy birthday to you.
What's this here on it?
Happy birthday, dear Greg. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
Somebody better tell our listeners what's going on.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
We are on the radio. For anybody that's not watching us on our streaming and on our socials, the wonderful, inimitable, infamous Greg Hughes is celebrating. Do we say big or do we say just
it's
general?
On the cake now, isn't it? So, unfortunately.
Go online to find out how big it actually is. Birthday next week, and we just want to wish him.
It doesn't seem.
Oh, it's the best decade, I have to say. I'm all for it. I'm all for this decade. We all want to wish you a very happy birthday, Greg.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys. Oh yeah. 1 second.
That's a lot of candles.
Make a wish.
You should make a wish.
And you can make it come true, by the way.
Wish for something you actually have a chance of getting, Greg.
Saying,
wish for something you have a chance of getting.
15% is in my head. Thank you. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate that. How embarrassing. How thoroughly embarrassing?
Well, not as embarrassing as it's going to get. If you're on social media or you happen to know, text Greg's telephone number, his email, anything you like. Just keep sending him all over the weekend, and in particularly on Monday.
So Monday is the big-
birthday
oh, right.
wishes.
Yeah.
And if you meet him out in the pub, it's not assault to give him the bumps. Just remember that.
Caroline, by the way, this will not be forgotten in a rush, and not in a good way. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, that's very nice. Okay. Very pleasant. And that's where we have to leave it for this week.
Awesome. We have to cut the cake now and have a cup of tea.
Yes, indeed. We shall do that. Thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate it. So it's my birthday on Monday. I hadn't mentioned it. But thanks, Fionnuala. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Enjoy
being
your
with
day
us.
off.
I shall indeed. Michael, a pleasure as
Absolute
always.
pleasure.
Okay.
Absolute pleasure. Great
I
fun.
need a shower now after. I don't perspire, but for some reason that triggered quite a lot of perspiration. All right, thank you very
PTSD,
much,
birthday
everybody.
PTSD.
Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy the game if you're going tomorrow night. And Donald's going to be in with you on Monday. For me, Greg Hughes, and the team of Caroline and Shannon, have